reflection of unreadiness for the future by Bill Gates' documentary We Are Not Yet Ready ushered the clarity of purpose for this year's Dejoseph Summit at Ibom Tropicana Entertainment Center, Oyo, on 2nd October 2020. Special Assistant to Akwa Ibom State Governor on Public Affairs, Barrister Ekanem, who doubles as the convener of the Dejoseph Society Nigeria, on welcoming the guest, explained that away from the usual focus of realities towards good governance by public office holders, this year's summit, with the theme Facing the Future, will be a focus on individual capacity development towards a sustainable future of Akwa Ibom State.
Check your program. I have 8 minutes to say what I have to say. But I wonder what real change took 8 minutes to actually be actualized. The spirit that brought you to life. Your father may have taken a long process, but at the end of the day, it was more of a 1 second thing that created almost all of us. Barack Obama became the first black American president. The mic again. Barack Obama became the first black American president, and the declaration that brought him to power was a matter of seconds. If you have ever listened to INEC declaring election results in Nigeria, you discover that they may say a lot of things very inconsequential, but people like Right Honorable they know what they are looking out for. They just want to hear Right Honorable, or they will keep the Right Honorable for him to take it out as well anyway. So they will not your view. PDP, declared winner, returned elected. And if you count the number of seconds I used to say that, it wasn't up to 8 minutes. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the real things of life, finding moments of life, it's not a question of how long you stay on it. It's a question of how well you breathe and embrace that moment, how deep you have prepared for that moment, and how well you saunter into the stage when that moment opens up for you. Now I'm gathered here just to be sure that when the world, as it will soon, presents you with the opportunity to make that defining decision, take that defining action, that will make you the star that is ready to take your world, or destroy you forever, make you live in regret, that you will be ready to be on the side of victory. The future is already in front of us. In fact, the future is here with us. I don't know how many of us are ready to face it, or how many of us are ready to run away from it. Coronavirus came when we played that documentary. The world faced it and went back to sleep. Coronavirus came and made us quite unprepared. And it looks like at every opportunity God is trying to tell us, or nature is bringing just before us the fact that things won't always be the way we planned them to be. And it's therefore calling us all to be prepared to face the future however it comes. So this event is therefore packaged to ensure that those of us who are participating here are ready to take on the future when it comes. If the Dejoseph Society Nigeria, if this event is that platform where you take that decision to prepare yourself to be ready for the future politically, prepare yourself to be ready for the future in terms of your economy, in terms of your, how much money you have. And if this summit is able to achieve the objective of ensuring that you think differently, as far as pressing your future is involved, then we would have met our objective. So I'll leave the microphone down and hope that the plans, the processes, the sleepless nights that have been put into the planning of this event by some of the very distinguished gentlemen that we have here, Son of Peter, the chairman of the planning committee, to Wilson, to Ekanem, to Nella. Somebody's warning me I shouldn't do that, I won't be able to mention all the names. I heed your warning, so I stop there. I hope that all their effort becomes fulfilling today. The Dejoseph Society Nigeria, we've been having events the past 3 years. We've been thinking for government. We've been making suggestions for government. I remember that time that we were working on the passage of the Akwa Ibom Development Fund bill. I guess that is happening now. We're talking about it. We pushed it. Right on the North of local speaker then ensured that the bill was passed. The bill is yet to be accepted. Don't worry, it will be. Governor is a good man. We've been doing all sort of stuff. We thought about education curriculum last year. We've been suggesting a lot of things to government. Thankfully, the present government, whether adopting our template or working on its own template, are doing just the kind of things that we've been thinking and planning and praying God that they're happening at Akwa Ibom State. But this year is different. We're thinking for government, but thinking for ourselves. We believe that there are two ways to building the state. It is either by building the state through the state, by building the people of the state, and believing that when the people are built, the state becomes built. But when they say that the state is rich, it could mean that the state is rich in terms of GDP, or it could also mean that the state is rich in terms of the people that populate the state. So please, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, by all means, be built today. And even if you cannot be built again. Thank you.
To learn. So I want to say that to everybody here, this is a great opportunity to take on a lot of value. There's so many things you can learn, there's so many things you can pick from being here. And I want everybody to take proper advantage of this opportunity. Permit me also to say that I guess I'm the only speaker here that has the presence of his wife. My beautiful wife is here. She's my mentor actually when it comes to public speaking. Dr. Gloria is here. She's my mentor when it comes to public speaking. So I'm going to be, I know she's going to be giving me cues and all that. Thank you very much. Building the future. The theme of today's summit is facing the future. And like someone said earlier, the future is already here. Now, Akwa Ibom will be amongst the top 2 economies in Nigeria by 2030. Now, I pause so that it will sink in. It may not, for those who follow economic trends, that will not come as a surprise. Because already there's a report that was done last year by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. The state's GDP figures that were released. Anybody who studied that report will see that Akwa Ibom was already probably number 2, max number 3 already. So ladies and gentlemen, Akwa Ibom is already, if not number 2, but number 3 largest economy in Nigeria in terms of GDP already. Alright? Now, a lot of that GDP is oil related. Of course, being the largest, Nigeria's largest oil producer, accounting for 30% of oil production in Nigeria, it's not far-fetched that we will have such a size or such size of economy. But the main question we will ask ourselves, the main thing we are here to do today is, just like the last edition of this summit was themed Akwa Ibom Beyond Oil. the next thing we're going to ask ourselves is, how do we, over the next 10 years, as a people, sustain our position as one of the most significant economies in Nigeria? That's the question we're going to be answering over the next few minutes. Now, Akwa Ibom has gone through several stages of development over time since 1987. Akwa Ibom has gone through several phases of development. Akwa Ibom has developed institutionally. So we saw the rise of our core institutions, our civil service. Akwa Ibom is today known as a civil service state. Alright? And why is that? Because we have a well-developed civil service. We have strong institutions of state. Akwa Ibom has also developed infrastructurally. So there's a lot of infrastructural development that has happened over the past 20 years in the state. I mean, starting from nothing, we can be proud of ourselves to say that Akwa Ibom has an airport. Akwa Ibom is accessible by air, by land, by sea. Akwa Ibom has good roads relative to other parts of the country. So you can see that we've developed, to a reasonable extent, our infrastructural foundation. So we can also see, following from that, Akwa Ibom to some extent has also developed politically. Of course, like I said, I look forward to when Honorable Luke will speak so that we get to understand how this has happened. And you can see that there is increased consciousness, civic consciousness amongst the people. So you can see that politically there's been significant development. So what comes next? What should follow? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say here today that 2020 to 2030 is the decade of enterprise. The decade of enterprise. What is left, the next thing for us, the next big thing for Akwa Ibom is enterprise. The next big thing is enterprise. Developing an entrepreneurial base, developing investments, huge investments that would lead to increased prosperity. That is where Akwa Ibom is going. That is the decade that we have come into. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also be tracing our development and evolution as a people. How have we fared in the area of enterprise development, in the area of entrepreneurship? What have we done so far? And in understanding what we have done so far, we will see and try to learn from the mistakes of the past. What did we not do right? What did we not get right? What are some of the issues that we have been confronted with as a people? I'm setting this as a background so that we get to understand what is needed, what is expected of every person in this room today. Now, we have also seen that part of the problem in the past has been lack of cross-generational businesses. We say this every time that we used to hear of certain businesses, that we're making waves. If you don't mind, can I take off my jacket?
This more value is comfort.
So we used to hear of so many businesses in the past. We used to hear, we can mention names, I will mention names because of for obvious reasons. So we used to hear so many businesses, that were doing well, Ibom businesses in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. But we find that there is a lack of continuity. We're not able to have a business transit from one generation to the other. Now, experts have taken time to analyze what is responsible for this issue. And we have seen that there are a couple of things that are responsible for this. Notable amongst them is that most businesses are set up as small businesses. That word small. Most businesses are set up as subsistence businesses. Businesses for the owners of the business to just get by, are not created as businesses that should be a legacy. We also have the issue of lack of bringing the next generation into the business. So there's lack of understanding, proper understanding of the workings of the business, what exactly is supposed to, what are the things that will make the business succeed, what are the things that will make the business, thrive in changing times. We also find another problem, which is lack of long-term vision. Long-term vision. So for every entrepreneur in this place, what I want to ask you is this. Where do you see your business in the next 10 years? Where do you see your business by 2030? Will your business even exist by 2030, by 2040, by 2050? Now the choice is yours as the entrepreneur, as the person promoting the business. The choice is yours. Will I run a business that will fold up soon? Or will I run a business that I can hand over to the next generation? For a business to succeed beyond one generation, there are a couple of things that must be present. There are a couple of things that we must work on. Number one is that you must build, like I said earlier, with a long-term vision. Build a long-term vision. Now, your reason for going into business will determine how long you last in business. Your reason for going into business will determine how long you last in business. If you're going into business just to make money, just to get by, then that's a short-term reason, that's a short-term motive for going into business. But if you look at the businesses or the companies that we hear about today, the Microsofts of this world, the Apples of this world, these are companies that were founded on philosophies, companies that were founded with the intention of changing the world, causing transformation. Now we want to see businesses from Akwa Ibom that will also change the course of history. We want to see businesses like Microsoft that said that we exist so that in the next few years there will be a personal computer in every home. Did they achieve it? Yes. Did they make a lot of money doing that? Yes. So crafting a philosophy that changes and alters significantly the way we operate as humans, as human beings, the way the world operates, that should be the basis for our business development. So we build based on a long-term plan. Now the second thing is there must be increased focus on value creation. We see a lot of businesses that are set up, but there is no value. So you must ask yourself, what problem is my business existing to solve? You must answer that question. What problem is my business existing to solve? So my business is in existence. What problem was it created to solve? You must answer that question on a continuous basis. Of course, the nature of the problems you are in business to solve will evolve over time. But the most important thing is that as these problems evolve, so must your solutions also evolve over time. The essence of having strategy in business is that you are adapting what you are doing or your mission on a consistent basis so that you meet needs and you create value by meeting those needs. So ask yourself today, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, what am I giving to my customers that they cannot get elsewhere? What value am I giving to them that they cannot get from any other person? If your competitor gives your customer greater value, that customer will leave you and move on to the competitor. So there has to be increased focus on value creation. Wealth follows value. Wealth is a reward for value derived. Where there is wealth without corresponding value given, the definition of that is fraud. It's an aberration to receive value or to receive wealth or to receive money when value was not given. So we must understand as business people, as entrepreneurs, that on a consistent basis you are in the value creating business. You must always create value for your customers and for your stakeholders. Number three, it's important to run your business like a Fortune 500 company. Run your business, no matter how small you think it is today, run your business like a Fortune 500 company. The Fortune 500 is the index of the leading companies in the world by market capitalization. Run your business as if you're running Microsoft, as if you're running Apple, if that's your industry, as if you're running ExxonMobil. That's the kind of mindset that we require, we need to build the businesses of the future. There are certain practices that you know can hurt or harm a business. You cannot excuse the fact that the business is small, it's just starting, and use that as an excuse to do those things that will sabotage the business or sabotage its continuous operations. I always say to every person that runs a business that I know, in any industry you find yourself, find out the top 3 players in that industry. Alright? The top 3 players. So for instance, if you're in tech, who are the top 3 tech companies maybe in Nigeria or globally? If you're in small-scale manufacturing, who are the top 3 manufacturing companies in Nigeria? You're in food and beverage, who are the top 3 beverage companies, food companies in Nigeria? Benchmark against those companies. That's your company. That should be your competition. Set your standards based on what those top 3 institutions are doing. That's what we call best practice. You know, the thing is, the Bible talks about calling those things that be not as though they were. The more you do this, the more you, in your mind, visualize that you are a big and great company, or that you're a big and great entrepreneur, the more you visualize it, eventually you find you become what you have visualized. So think and run your business as if you are running a Fortune 500. Number 4, which is very important, is understand finance. I can tell you that finance is something, or money is something that nobody goes to school to. Almost nobody goes to school to learn. We're not taught very well in secondary schools and primary schools how money works, how to manage money, and all that. And sometimes also you must understand that when you now begin to do business, the way you manage the finances of a business is also different from even the way you manage your own personal finances. You must understand how it works. You must understand what are the components that will make your business finances a success. You must be financially literate, as well as financially intelligent. So financial literacy means that you understand it. So financial intelligence means that you can respond as situations present themselves intelligently. Now, my own journey as a person was seriously, I connect deeply with this particular point, because when I left school, one of the things I did was I tried my hands on business. And I realized that my major weakness was that I didn't understand how money worked. So for instance, I was doing business, I was getting, money was coming in, but just the same way the money was coming, before you know it, I would wonder whether I would look for the money, I would find it. Right? Until I admitted to myself that yes, I went to school, I'm a graduate, I got all this information and all this knowledge, but yet I was a financial illiterate. It was in the quest for gaining knowledge and gaining mastery that I found myself in the industry that I currently operate. So that's the same thing. Seek to get knowledge, to understand. Cash is not the same thing as income. Cash is not the same thing as income. There's a difference between capital and revenue. These are things that every entrepreneur must know. You must have that at your fingertips. If not, what you simply do is you treat all money as money. Okay? And that's one very easy way to ruin or wreck a business. Now, thankfully, there are lots of professionals out there, bankers, accountants, financial consultants, management consultants. You can always engage the services of these people and get to learn what you need to know about managing your business finances. Now, let me also mention the 7 key success factors if you're growing your business, because I mentioned earlier that one of the challenges we have around here especially is a subsistence mindset when it comes to business. Most people, you ask, if I was taking a random survey here, ask most people here, well, if you have a business, what are you doing in the business? Why are you doing this business? A lot of people here will say, just to be able to pay your bills, just to have enough money to do a few things. Alright? It is important if we're going to be building the businesses of the future that we progress take our businesses from the level of surviving to the level of thriving. Take your business through the stages of growth that would see the business sustainable in the long run. We have to take our businesses away from subsistence and begin to adopt an affluence mindset when it comes to doing business. Okay? Now how do we do this? Every business will thrive. This is really important. Every business will thrive when it is able to consistently deliver value by providing products, services to its customers on a continuous basis. If you're able to consistently do it and then grow the scale of the operation over time, you will succeed in business. But how do we do this? We must understand a few things, a few factors that are always at work, always interplaying whenever you're in business or around every business. The most important of these factors is management. Every business that failed was mismanaged. Let me repeat that. Every business that failed was mismanaged, in the sense that the business was not able to respond to the changes in the external or internal changes that affected that business. So management is critical. John Maxwell posits that everything rises and falls on leadership. Right? But everybody now has been, there's this illusion that makes it seem as if leadership is just reserved for a few people. Within your business, as a business person, your aim should be that every person in your business is a leader. Every person in your business. As a matter of fact, the people that you think are not leaders within your organization are actually the most critical people, the most important people responsible for the success or failure of that business. Someone who's, for instance, who owns a supermarket, your security man outside that parks cars is more important than even the CEO of that supermarket. Because that person can actually attract or maybe drive away your customers. So having this understanding that everybody in the business has to be a leader, everybody in the business has to be committed. First of all, must have the character, then must have the commitment and the competence to do what they need to do to deliver these superior goods and products and services to your customers. So management is important. So management involves the people that drive the business, the people that constantly work towards delivering this value to your customers. But you also have to understand that the people also that run the business work within a system that is made up of certain processes. So for your business to succeed and for your business to stand the test of time, you must have in place certain processes that deliver this value to your customers. What processes do and systems do is that it makes the business not just centered around the individual, around one person. So ask yourself as a business person, if you take a vacation today, assuming you decide to travel, can your business still run without you? If the answer is no, then you still have a lot of work to do. Can your organization operate in your absence? There's still a lot of work to do if your answer is no. What you now need to do is to build systems, put processes in place to ensure that your business on its own is able to consistently deliver value. And these processes should work for your customers and not work against the customer. Now, the second thing that every entrepreneur must be sensitive to is what I call the macro. The finance world, or it's an economic world, but it simply means the macroeconomic environment. The macroeconomic environment, the external factors that affect your business. For instance, at the beginning of this year, most companies, those businesses did not know that we will have anything called COVID-19. Or did they? I'm sure that there are some businesses that actually planned knowing that there was an outbreak in China in 2019, some people were smart enough to have foreseen that this would spill over across the world. So you must be sensitive to your external environment. What is happening outside you? How do you, based on what you know of what is happening outside, how do you plan your business in line with your understanding of the macroeconomic environment, of your external environment? Government policies change. Now, if the policy changes, how do you adapt your business in response to those policy changes? If the central bank decides to come up with some policy to restrict this or restrict that, how does it affect you? So every business owner must be sensitive. Within your line of business, you must be sensitive to those external factors that can influence or affect your business. And you must prepare your response. See, what happens to you is not important. It's not as important as your response to what happens in your external environment. Now, one other important critical success factor is your understanding of your market. You must know your market. What is a market? What is your market? Your market is, in simple terms, where your customers are. Who are your customers? What type of customers do you have? What is your ideal, something called an ideal customer profile? Who is your ideal customer? You must understand that. You must know what are the links and the changing trends in the market. So for instance, the world now is going digital. Alright? People are now looking for services online. So if for instance I need a particular service, I need a product, chances are I won't go asking people where I can find this and where I can find that. Chances are that I will go online to check, to look for what I want. So you must understand that as a business, if the market is now online, you cannot be focusing on building a shop, having a big shop somewhere in town and stocking it and making it look pretty. The focus now should be that if the market has gone online, you also must have an online presence. So it's actually an investment you'll be making in your website, for instance, your social media presence, in your digital marketing. This is the marketplace of the future. We must be sensitive as business people to our markets, where the market is, and having access to those markets. Now, also very importantly, is understanding money issues. Now, part of the expectation from this event is that businesses should be able to understand how to fund, or entrepreneurs should be able to understand how to fund their business ideas and all that. But let me say this, it starts with knowledge. It starts with knowledge. That's the first place you should start as an entrepreneur. Because, we in the financial services industry know that there's a certain amount of money you can put into a business and it will kill the business, to completely shut it down. Alright? So you must understand what the various types of financing options you have, and understand how each of them work. Understand when you need each of them, why and for what you will need them. For instance, starting a business is not advisable that you start a business with a loan. You go to the bank to ask the commercial bank to give you a loan at maybe 15 or 16 or 20%. You will actually be killing yourself. How? Why? Because the bank expects that you will pay, assuming you took the loan and it's maybe a 1 year loan, expect that you start paying from month 1. Now, no matter how, those who have done business know that no matter how rosy your business plan looks, no matter how much, every business plan always has projections. And I've never seen, in over 16 years in financial services industry, I've never seen a business plan where the person was planning to make a loss. All the business plans always point to making good profits. Year 1 profit, year 2 profit. But you see that when you hit the ground running, when you get to the streets, it's a completely different matter. So you need some time as a startup business you need some time to understand your market, to understand the dynamics of your business plan, your value propositions, how your customers will receive your product. So there's a lot that happens within what is called a gestation period. You cannot just expect that you start making money from day one or from month one or from year one. So it's important that we understand that, for instance, if you're going into business, try to avoid as much as possible taking a loan, because guess what? You take the loan, you find that you are under pressure constantly from day one, because the bank is going to be asking for its money. And then you find that before you know, you're not picking calls, you're trying to avoid and dodge. So I'm just saying that every business person needs to understand the type of funding you need for the business per time. So if you're starting up a business, what you should be thinking of is, first of all, how do I raise my startup capital? How much do I have of my own equity? How much is at stake? Now, why it's important that you have your own stake is that if the business fails, you cannot take money from somebody and the business fails, the person has lost money. You must have your own skin in the game. So what is your own startup capital? You can get funding from friends and family. You can have several sources. You can take grants where the funding is patient. The most important thing is that if you're starting a business, you start a business with capital that is patient, that will wait for you to make your mistakes and all that. And as the business grows, also there's different levels of types of financing that you need to have at different stages of the business. Now, if some of these things may seem a bit complex and complicated, then that means for your business you need to seek sound financial advice. Like I said earlier, you can talk to your banker. Most people do not understand that the essence of your banker, the role of your banker, is not just somebody you call to confirm your checks. It is somebody you should also talk to provide you with sound financial advice. Talk to your accountant, financial experts, people who understand the way business finances work. Now, I want to conclude by saying this. We decided from being a civil service state, and we've also evolved over time. We've seen that Akwa has evolved into a society where what is the in thing, what is in vogue now, what is popular now is that a lot of young people are aspiring to go into politics, which is very good and very commendable. I'm sure when Honorable comes up, we will hear a lot of insights in that area. I want to say this. By 2030, the greatest, some of the most notable people we will have in this state are going to be CEOs, entrepreneurs, taking their businesses from nothing and have taken it to international heights. Akwa Ibom needs entrepreneurs. Akwa Ibom needs entrepreneurs. So my question to you today is, will you be that next CEO? Thank you very much.
Considered as part and parcel of the political system of Nigeria. So I'm saying all this to underscore the point that don't ever sit and then say politics. Maybe need to use pidgin. Nah, they are thing. Whatever you do at the political sphere is going to affect your life one way or the other. For business to thrive, there are three great things that must happen. One is for you to have an enabling environment. That enabling environment, there has to be security, there has to be sound legislation, and then there has to be infrastructural development. Of those three, who can provide them? Government. And what does government represent? Politics. Legislations are crafted by who? Legislators. And who are we? Politicians. Security is provided by who? Politicians. Infrastructure, enabling environment is provided by who? Yes, private sector will come together, like we've seen in Lagos, come together where we have a robust economy, come together to do infrastructure like roads, mostly to where they have their banking headquarters. And they maintain the parks and the gardens we have on those routes. The greater part of infrastructure development is done by government. So I'm saying this to underscore the fact that Political participation is to remain central to democracy and the bona fide right of citizens in its practice. So, policy formulation, you need to know what your government is planning and seeking to do, because one way or the other is going to affect your life. Last year, or early this year, we sat in the National Assembly, and then we passed an executive bill shifting forward incremental growth in the value-added tax from 5% to 7.5%, which has a great impact in the businesses that we have today. Who took those decisions? Were there people from the private sector? The politicians? We in the National Assembly, we took that decision. Has it not affected you today? So whatsoever the politics, whatsoever is done at the sphere of politics will affect your life one way or the other. I came here with a piece of legislation that was just sent to us on Tuesday by Mr. President. Petroleum Industry Bill, about 239-page document, and we are going to pass it soon. We need to read. I decide to go with it everywhere I go to, even in the car, because I need to meet up to read from page to page, clause by clause, to know which one will affect my people so that I can speak when debate is open on this. And chapter 3 of that talks about host communities. And I'm very particular, and that is where we had the challenge in the right from the very first time we had that legislation. That is why it could not pass in the previous session or the previous assembly of the National Assembly. Now, the host communities suffer the effect of exploitation and exploration activities within the Akwa Ibom economy, because we are a mono economy in the state. We are trying to, what the government is doing with industrialization, we are trying to shift and we are trying to change the narrative. Now, when this legislation is passed, it's going to change the way the oil and gas industry in Nigeria is going to operate. It's going to bring a fundamental change. We are going to scrap NNPC and to have NNPC limited. The intendment of this legislation, this bill, is to change the dynamics totally of the petroleum industry in Nigeria, which is totally what we are dependent on to survive as a country. And now I'm saying all to say that we are going to do public hearing on this, and I'm planning, today or tomorrow I'm going to be meeting with the 3 state legislators from my state constituency to share this. I'm going to photocopy this and keep in my constituency office. I'm going to be calling on experts because I'm not an expert on this field. I'm going to be calling on experts on the field of oil and gas within the federal constituency and within the state at large to be able to contribute ideas on this, so that when I speak, I will speak on what would be the benefit of the people of the state. So you have to participate. You have to participate. The same thing goes with the very controversial National Water Resources Bill. It's a decision. I'm talking about legislation. Decision that is going to be taken. Thank God that we had to rise to the occasion because of the cry and the position as canvass, agitation, advocacy, as canvassed by Nigerians, and we are quite people inclusive. I've had so many calls. I've had religious leaders call me for a meeting in their houses. I've had judicial officers in the state. Last week, I had about 2 judicial officers who came to my house and said, we just want to see you for 5 minutes. I thought it was something else. They said, no, for God's sake, please, you have to look at the National Water Resources Bill again. Whatever we do at the National Assembly, whatever we do at the State Assembly, whatever we do in the executive, whether as president, whether by way of executive order, or by way of formulation of policies, we are going to be affected one way or the other. And today, I am charging you for the future of our state and the future of our country. I'm charging you if you never had interest in participating. I'm charging you to participate in politics in the state, politics in the nation, and even politics globally. So political participation is important in determining the kind of policies that government propose. It would imply actions taken by citizens that are intended at influencing the selection of government officials as well as the development of policies. Now, we used to think about participation as only voting. But I know that the next people have participated by changing the dynamics belonging to pressure groups. At this point, I will mention Youth Alive Foundation, that they participated in politics in trying to advocate for the passage of the Youth Development Fund Bill in the state. And I've seen a whole lot of them. I've seen the director here, Dr. Uwakon, and I've seen Tija Burton, I've seen Kingsley. So, some people have taken to the next level of participating politically, like Sorore, who decided to go on protest. But I want to say that it is dangerous to protest today in Nigeria. So we have to change the dynamics. I wouldn't advise anyone to go on street protest. Instead, we should have to engage in what we agree to do constructively, tasking our minds and our brains, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, that together we can have a cross-utilization of ideas that will lead us to the environment or the future that we want to see, not only the one we want to live in. If you love the next generation, if you love your children greatly, you will want to bequeath to your children a better future than what we have experienced today. And I believe that we have to participate to get that done. And you cannot just talk about participating without preparation. I say here, preparation precedes participation. Any youth who wants to participate in politics must deliberately and carefully prepare beforehand. Political participation should not be by accident. When I was given a letter to this event, I was asked to use my personal experience, and it's something I have shied away in the last couple of days or that last couple of times to speak on. Because my life is an open book. I don't believe that in the state there are a whole lot of people who don't know about. So they insisted that they want me to share the lessons from my political experience. Now, I asked the question, how prepared are you? Preparation can first come by way of education. I want to state emphatically, nobody will give you a place in the political sphere or arena if you don't have what to offer. And so the very first foundation of preparation is to get the basic education. Forget what the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has stated. It is an aberration. I said it's an aberration for the Constitution to state that the highest qualification for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or any political office should be a holder of SSCE. It's an aberration. At least, for purposes of those who cannot afford finances to go to acquire BSc, an ordinary national diploma should suffice as academic qualification for whosoever is contesting for any office. So, for you to prepare, you must go to school. You must have that paper certificate, because no matter how sound and intelligent you are, a time will come when they will be asking for your paper qualification. We have people in this country who are quite very intelligent, who have not gone to school, but they have had to do personal or self-development. But that is not an excuse for you not to go to school. So you will have to prepare first by going to school, being educated. Secondly, by having mentors. I'm asking you to have mentors, not just friends. We thank God for those who have played roles in our lives. It depends on what those people will want to call themselves, but for me, I see them as mentors. Why? There is a clear difference between mentorship and godfatherism. Mentorship gives you the ability to be of your own self. I like what the MC said, we are not talking about manipulation, but we are talking about manipulation. And Reverend Mukafia has come to talk about mentorship. The mentor gives you the latitude to think for yourself and then share some thoughts with him, and then gives you the latitude. Mentorship gives you the latitude to teach your mentor the things he does not know. It gives you the latitude to disagree with him respectfully. It gives you the latitude to be able to point to some pitfalls The godfatherism does not give a room for such. Under godfatherism, you ought to be what we call a zombie. You only go and follow instructions. You don't have any opportunity to disagree or to share you don't have a mind of your own. So when a man wants to play a role in your life politically by way of supporting you, because there are always helpers, people must help you to climb. And today I appreciate those who help me to climb. When they talk about what I have said, people forget to mention. I first said in 2003 as a personal assistant to a member of the House of Assembly, the late Ernest Okocho II of Ibom State Constituency. That's where I started my service in the macro politics. And may he so rest in peace. And I appreciate this. I appreciate him. I appreciate the role of Senator Gospel Party, and I appreciate the role of Governor Emmanuel in my life and others outside Akwa Ibom State have played one role for me to go to where I am. And I believe that they give me the opportunity to express myself at every point in time. So how prepared? You have to have mentorship. Then the other one is to the real content. And this is how many autobiographies have you read? My life in politics today is influenced greatly by a book I read on Bill Clinton. My life. Bill Clinton made mention, one thing strikes me till today, he made mention that Bill Clinton every morning had to call the name of everybody in the White House, by their first names. That means that he was connected with the people. And then he was empathic. He was compassionate about issues that affect Americans. He was there, and then he had a wife who complimented what he was doing. And that has influenced my life, it has influenced my thought process politically. I read a book too, Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. That has influenced my thought process too, to stand up and speak whatever my convictions are, without caring whose fault is God. But the only thing, because I told you, I'm going to share with you the mistakes I have made so that you don't make them. The only thing that has changed today is that I can make those points to whosoever I had to make those points without sounding insolent. And I had to make those points by moderating my donation, by moderating the pitch in my voice. Even if I have a loud voice, it can be what we call campaign voice. But right now, because I don't want to offend people as well, I say, no, sir, this ought not to be so. But in time past, I would be speaking and bringing out my eyeballs and pointing fingers at it like a man. So you should not go that way. That is the advice I said. I'm going to share with you the mistakes I made and that you should not make again. One again is that when I was senior government president, I believe that if I had done enough consultations, I would not have gone the way I did as senior government president, the actions I took. So what I'm advising you today as you get involved, consultation, consensus building is key in political participation. So how much you know will determine the space you are being given at the political table to be able to exercise and create value. Please make a correction there. How many autobiographies of great men and women, not women, great men and women have you read? Now, participation, my personal experience. You all know about my personal experience, but I want to quote Dr. Fuller. He said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." So, as I will be further in my presentation, I will show you how I adopted this model in my representation starting from 2011. So I will not bore you. I will not bore you with what I have done. I have made some highlights. Now, if you are working to challenge the status quo, we will have to walk into the arena with a different approach. Successful nationhood is highly dependent on the caliber of intellect applied, the ability to process thoughts, apply the faculty of imagination, mine data, which is quite very key today. Data mining. You cannot develop, you cannot make a choice, you cannot go into elections if you don't mine data. For what I want to go, because definitely for sure a day will come. As a public service, as a man who have had a life in public service, I have future. And for the future I intend to go, I had long, in the last 4 years, mind data about what happens in the different sub-unit or the entire unit that I want to represent in the future. Whether in the legislature, in the executive, or in the judiciary. I need you to guess that. Internet is critical in the development of any nation. We need to come into the field with fresh ideas on how to solve the unique challenges facing us as a state and as a nation at large. The bottom line of my story is that any youth interested in politics must be well prepared and intellectually equipped to make an impactful contribution to political participation. Suffice it to say that participation does not necessarily mean holding an office. Participation could also be done from the background by advising, mobilizing, volunteering, criticizing, interacting, and holding the office holders to account. Please permit me to talk about issues of criticism. Any public official who does not open himself up for criticism, who does not have the skin to get criticism, constructive criticism, ought not to hold any public office. Because you are holding that office on the account of the people's mandate. And I want to plead with us leaders. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. But we should open our life as public officials in the conduct of public business to criticism. And I want to urge you, Akwa Ibom young minds here seated. I will re-emphasize this in my conclusion. Criticism does not mean insult. Criticism does not mean name calling. If you have a chief executive of a federation or a state or your representative who in the course of discharging his function or his public responsibility, he has not acted in a way that is obtainable in that is what we call global best practice. What you have to do is to draw the attention of the error that he has committed in the course of his action and provide solution or provide way that you think that he should have acted in that circumstance. Not for you to begin to call the man's father's name, or not for you to begin to call the man's mother's name, and not for you. The people that are in public office, leaders have children. And that's why again, when we'll be talking about loyalty in the future, as we go on. Everything is reciprocal. Bible says, do unto others what you wish others should do unto you. If you want to be criticized constructively, you must act in the best interest of the people that you represent. So I want to urge you, please, when things are not right, whether in the state, whether by a member of the state assembly or the national assembly, whether by the governor or the president, please feel free to criticize. But criticism means that you ask, I want to re-echo, that you point out what is wrong in the process, in the course of the discharge of that function, and then profess what you think should be done. And I want to commend the Dejoseph Society for gathering young minds and gathering us to share ideas so that we can, by way of criticizing government, constructively, we can bring out communicate outcome from this presentation to give to government in what we think government can do to create the future that we want and the future we want to see. At some point I have talked about, but I want to state here. The lessons learned in 2003 as a legislative aide, I'm talking about preparation, opened my eyes and prepared me for the task of lawmaking. I call it my legislative internship period. That internship proved quite useful because by the time I was first inaugurated as a House of Assembly member in 2011, I was already familiar with the legislative work. I am not ashamed to say that I owe what my constituents consider exemplary performance in the House of Assembly for 8 years to the internship I underwent as a legislative aide. And that is why when I got into the House of Assembly, I created the unofficial legislative internship program so that I can transfer what I learned to the next generation. And when I emerged by the grace of God with the support of my colleagues and the support of the leadership of the state, I made the Speaker of the House of Assembly, I sought to institutionalize that by bringing it up to scale to make it Akwa Ibom State Legislative Internship Program. My personal story is a compass of amazing grace and courage define odds. I've been broken in many parts, yet each time I choose to survive. Like on the power I needed, the scars of war is not found on me. Rather, the star believes in ultimate goals despite troubling horizon of fear, uncertainty, rejection, betrayal, and seemingly impossibility have been converted to a propellant to depend and deepen my faith in God and love for humanity. And I want to say this, part of their preparation, because there are certain things you are going to meet in the political space that are going to challenge your beliefs and your conviction. If you don't have what you stand for, you are going to fall for anything. So part of their preparation is to have a deep spiritual background. Deep spiritual background. If your parents never gave you one, seek one. Seek a personal relationship with God. Because there are things that will happen in the course of the journey that will make you think of offending God. But if you have that conviction standing on God, at any point you go to bed, no matter how angry you are, the Holy Spirit will minister unto you to say what you are about doing. I want to share an example. Sometime in 2012, I never offended a particular young man, but he wrote things that were not true about me. And one day I went to school, I said, let me show this man a little bit of what I know as a young man. Let me organize boys to go and flog him. Don't one day I told this story of the day, they should put his driver and flog him on his boat. And it was on a Wednesday. And I didn't want to go to midweek service because my mind was already poisoned. I said, how would I go to church? If I go to church now, God is going to tell me, forget about what you did, what you have done. But my wife said, I'm already in church, I need you to come to church. I decided to go to church, and while inside the church, I got a conviction to say, you have never been thought about this in your life, and you are thinking about this now, you are going to offend God and going to offend humanity. And that is why, and that is how I received that action. And I'm happy that I never did that, because that would have been a dent in my political, even if people might not have known, but my conscience would have been dented. Every day, today I stand tall, I give glory to God Almighty. I have an unbeatable reputation in public service. This is to the glory of God Almighty. Pray on the condition I have. So for you to prepare to meet that challenge and participate, please have a deep spiritual conviction. Otherwise, when you are tempted along the way, you are going to find yourself faltering. Participation, you need to participate to create value. Why did I go to public service? Why did I go to House of Assembly? I felt that there could be another way of representation, where you go back to the people, give account of what you do in public service, and take the lessons I learned on compassion from Bill Clinton and others, and then apply it. That is why I started championing, advocating for massive constituency briefing, led with empowerment. And I thank God that I did that in 2012, did it in 2013, and I was able to share this vision with my colleagues in the 6th Assembly, and my colleagues brought into it. And then that's why we have a number of constituency briefing that we had in the state, in the 6th Assembly. That was participating to create value. So don't just participate. If you want to contest for the president, don't look at the protocol. Don't be influenced by the comfort. Don't be influenced by the grandeur or the perks and privileges of office. Do we enjoy the perks and privileges? The answer is yes. Is that the major determinant of why we seek public office personally? The answer is no. It's about service and creating value. So I want to urge you, think of where you've seen a lacuna and seek to participate so that you can create value within there. And I thank God that this paper has been published for you to see. As I begin to round up, when I became speaker, I christened the 6th Assembly People's Assembly. By these members beyond legislations were directed to give back to constituents. This was extending the frontiers of the base of constituency briefing, which I championed in the 5th Assembly. I've already stated that. In considering political participation, it is therefore pertinent to think of areas where value can be created and how this can be achieved. As you have a greater role to play for the future we desire. How many young people have played their part in the past? Now is your turn to play yours. Unknown to many, the majority of the political office holders in Akwa Ibom State since 1999 have been youth. They include senators, House of Representative members, House of Assembly members, commissioners, local government chairmen, and personal aid of the governor. Local government councillorship positions are almost the exclusive presence of the youth. I stated that point to counter the fact that youth only play the role of talks and then media terrorists. Let me use that phrase, media terrorists in the course of election. And that reminds me again. Now I remember I can state it. Please, there is a growing trend in Akwa Ibom State and I want to discourage it. Don't allow any politician to pay you to insult another politician on the social media. Don't allow. Let me tell you something from the political class. We are interested basically on how we grow. It takes a few to think of how others grow. So when you offend them, when you offend others because of a man, there is a tendency that you will have created an enemy. It's not everybody that is forgiving like some of us. That you could do it repeatedly and then we still take it back. Others will hold it against you. So please, if you have a choice of a political officer that you are supporting, whether in office to promote what he's doing, or you want to promote his aspiration, do it within the realm of civility, not by insult. Don't insult any politician for the sake. I say this, I have people that vote for me in the political space. I've had too many times I've had to call people and say you need to take down that on the social media. People wonder why are you active on the social media. The reputation you have built for over years can be tarnished by 1 second posting. So, and the friendship and relationship you built over years can be tarnished by 1 single posting. And people can feel that way, like they weren't asking Mr. A or B to begin to write against him. So please, don't create an enmity with another political office holder under the guise of supporting one person. Support your candidate, promote what he is doing, your political office holder, within the realm of civility. Now, going back, other interesting statistics reveal that 8 of the 10 governors, military and civilian, of Akwa Ibom State have been used. And the first 2 military governors of the state assumed office at the ages of 40 and 39 in 1987 and 88 respectively. So I don't see a reason why they should think that a 40-year-old man, or a 30-year-old man, or a 35-year-old man, or a 45-year-old man cannot become the next governor of the state. Anyone who tells you that we are not prepared, tell them that the youth are prepared. We have the capacity. We look at when if the military could think it wise to appoint young people as military administrators. I think the time is right for us to elect young people to the office of the president and governors of the respective states. When Commander Dejoseph was 38 when he became the president governor of the state in 1990, and I believe that today he's going to support a young man to make that same feat. Because can you question his development plan? Can you question the things he did? If he could do that at the age of 38, I believe that he's going to support another young man to be able to do that as we continue to build the narrative. Governor Commander was president of Akwa Ibom State as in 1993. His successor, Navy Captain Joseph of blessed memory, took over at the age of 40 in 1996. Group Captain Eyepeya John Ebiye, who succeeded at Dejoseph in 1988, was also in his early 40s. I know you didn't know this. You didn't know this? So please, when the time comes for the next election, whether in the president or the governor, if you are up to the constitutionally required to prescribe from this, we will go out to speak and we will speak issues. Chief Justice Notified they became the president governor of the state at 44 plus on May 29, 2007. The incumbent governor, the Colonel Emmanuel, was less than 49 when he was inaugurated as the first civilian governor of the state on May 29, 2015. And then I've gone to state other governors who were early has taken the positions that have been occupied by speakers of the House of Assembly, members of the National Assembly. The next thing you asked me to do was to define loyalty. Today, why I've decided to speak and look at reading from paper is that the political space is very sensitive. So I want to have what I have to say on paper so that you look at it. Now, As a practitioner and less of a theorist, I'm at home with a keyword workable definition. Loyalty is devotion, sacrifice, love for country and state above anything else. Loyalty is your life because of your hours, days, months, and years you invest in a man or state is a subtraction from the accumulation of your life. So who pays for these minuses? But it is a joy that cannot be explained when a go weary, your entire being was dedicated, is achieved. However, a man who is not first convinced in a cause is everything but loyal. I'm saying this to underscore the point that you must have conviction to know what you are loyal to. And loyalty, I say, is symmetric. That is to say, it has to be corresponding. It is abnormal for subordinates or citizens to invest loyalty without similar or corresponding returns for leaders and nations. This weakens the fabrics of patriotism and nationhood. Don't go to a man who says you should only be loyal to him when he's not ready to be loyal to you. And if you are voting me into office, your loyalty, the way I should reciprocate that loyalty is to represent you with sincerity of purpose and putting your interest far, far, far above my personal interest, even at the point of inconvenience in my own personal life. So, in view of my submissions, I have put together the following template for political participation for youth in the build-up to 2023. I had to use 2023 because that is what the organizers asked me to use. But into the future, it's elastic. First is you must make a choice. And you align and connect with your choice. Promote your choice with civility, I said that before. Shun vulgarity. Evaluate promises. Celebrate antecedent of performances. If somebody says he's going to do, if I said I'm contesting for the president of Nigeria, and I talk about how to build primary health care, to support secondary health care system that we have in the country, because the challenges of health care delivery today across the nation, I don't want to be disposed, I don't want to use my state, I'm using the nation. The problem is at the primary health care. So if I said I'm going to build primary health care by training the medical personnel, the community health workers, the community health extension workers, to be able to provide health care delivery, you must look at what did I do. I will tell you that when I was in the House of Assembly, I sponsored the primary health care development agency bill, which was passed into law, signed by the governor, because I saw that lacuna and I had to fill that in. If I say I'm going to talk about affordable health care, you cannot talk about affordable health care if you don't talk about health insurance. And I will tell you that I sponsored the state health insurance scheme bill because I found that lacuna that we need to provide. The health care should not only be paid for by individual. It has to be a shared responsibility by individual, between individual and government and employers. That is the only way we can talk about affordable, accessible for all. So don't get somebody who comes to promise promises without showing how to achieve those promises. Shun violence, shun cultism. I said it clearly. While I was reflecting on this paper, don't allow anybody to promise you to say, I will give you a commission. Cultism does not give any commission. It does not. Please shun cultism. Don't allow anybody. I can tell you, I'm in a position to tell you that cultism does not lead you to anything good. Face what you have to face. 1, face your study. 2, face your God. At the end of it all, you are going to be promoted when you are hardworking and then you have God on your side. No God group gives anybody any commission. If they give you in the wrong, there will be discrimination. Because the same people will feel that they are rising above them. So please, don't allow anybody to tell you that cultism does not pay. So shun violence because cultism leads to violence. Make sacrifices. What do I mean? If you are very good and you want me to come and pay you maybe a certain sum for you to wait for, tell me how I will be able to come and deliver. First, I want to recover the money that I paid you. So make sacrifice by standing. If you have, do crowdfunding. If you can bring money, not that you are doing venture capital funding to fund business. Politics is business. Politics is what? Business too. Because the act of governance and the act of governance should be treated as business and as serious business. So do whatever you have to do to support a public official to grow. Identify your neutrals, create awareness, convince them on the merit, should value the state stands to benefit with him as a public office holder. Study manifesto of aspirants, make necessary input, and I want to say, look at the antecedents as we are proceeding towards the next election, from the president to the House of Assembly. Look at the antecedents of people who are going to come, especially in this state. As we are going for the next chief executive of the state, look at the antecedents of those who are going to be presenting themselves before you. Look at what they have done before. Look at you. A man cannot pretend for too long. The highest a man will pretend. He can pretend for 5 years. He can pretend for 10 years. So you will know the true character of everyone that will be presenting themselves for the office of the respective offices in the land. Please stand by whosoever you are convinced to stand with. In conclusion, it is important for the youth to take action. Avoid inactivity. Now, finally, as the 2023 gubernatorial election approaches, my advice for the youth is simply to support the government of Governor Emmanuel till the end of its tenure. When the time for voting comes, get involved, contest, and support the candidates of their choice anchored on strong convictions of character and competence. It is possible for the youth, while still supporting the government of the day, to take ownership of the process and produce a popular candidate with the best interests of the state at heart. And this could be gleaned from the person's antecedents. I believe when we come together, we can keep sustaining Akwa Ibom as a united, educated, and prosperous state under God. We can move forward to further greatness. Thank you, and God bless. And please, it goes to be importance with value. This is a measure that the state gave me at the 30th anniversary of the state for my trading value for youth development. And I could say the government create the state and was given at the 30th anniversary of the state. Which means that when you participate, even if you don't get money, you get the recognition. This is the recognition I got from the state in creating value in youth development. And I thank the state for this. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Library Barrister Honor. Thank you. Please appreciate him. Appreciate him. Appreciate him. This man was not just spoken to you today, but he is a significant voice of the National Assembly talking about the House of Representatives. I would want to premise what is said on the words of an old neighbor freedom singer, who in a song said, "My eyes are seeing."
As a pastor, Dr. Kafia admonishes the youth on a scriptural premise that to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. Hence, the need to plan for the future.
There's a lot of insecurity on every side, and change is taking place so rapidly. And the need, therefore, is for us to develop the right mindset to engage that future. As a pastor, I like this verse 1 of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Now, it's crucial that this talk is already in the book. Everybody has it? Okay, so I will not be saying a whole lot different from what you have in that book. So thank you for making this easy for me. Now, verse 9 of that same book, chapter 1 says, history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. You can hear that already as Bill Gates, one of our global leaders, just spoke after the Ebola. He talked about another epidemic. So you will find that this is not the first pandemic. In fact, we've lost far less people this time than in the last one he referred to. So it's not the first time. So that scripture in Ecclesiastes 1:9 clearly tells you that history and things just get repeated. But we need to understand the difference is that our world is changing so fast now than ever before. not just the uncertainty. Now the only thing we are certain about this time is ourselves. And change is going to happen. We cannot stop it. We are not in control. Now when COVID-19 came, none of us could do anything about it. But you see, we can decide to control ourselves. That's what we can do. Our response to change and our preparedness for more change coming ahead. Now, if I remember, I was 60 in April 18, I turned 60. And my body doesn't generally do what it used to do before. Sports is more laborious now than it used to be. And I remember this day I was in Calabar. There was a pool in the hotel, and but I was so tired, and I was wondering when last did I have an exercise. My mind still works like a teenager, but my body is beginning to drag. And I was wondering, in our class group, like you heard, I read medicine. Everybody in that group is about 30. It's about 60. I think one or two people are either a few years, 1 or 2 years before, 1 or 2 years after. But we are all in the same age bracket, and we share stuff that has to do with our age. Everybody is retiring about the same time, and so we have discussions about retirement. People are preparing for the future. So how are you engaging yourself, or do you even imagine the kind of change that will come to you? One thing that interests me these days is that we have so many people. We have new careers, social engineers, environmental consultants, and when I get some of these titles, I just laugh. I wonder, what did you read to earn this? And it amazes me. But you need to think for yourself. You need to engage and prepare. If it comes upon you suddenly without preparation, what will it be? Why I said all that is to quote one expert. And when I was told he's an expert, I was also quite amused. Said there will be more change in the next 20 years than in the previous 30 years. Now, if that is going to happen, if in the next 20 years we're going to see a lot more change than in the past 300, how and what should we be doing? It's best to first think 20, 30 years ahead. So if I'm going to think 20, 30 years ahead, I am 8 years older than my wife. And when we plan in segments, in short term, long term, and when we talk and I say, 10 years from now, where will I be? What will I be doing? Will I go on to help you? Say, no, don't think like that. I don't plan to die before 90. My thought is I intend to live to be 90. My prayer is that no part of my body should fail by that time. I plan, if I have my way to die on a Sunday evening, I would have gone to church, preached a good message, had a good lunch, pray for my people, and just lie down in bed and wake up in heaven. Now that's my thought. I don't know what God has in mind. Now, but if you think in 20, 30 year segments, it means I have 30 years to go. If you are a young person today, if you're 15, in 20 years you will be 35. I get my maths right in the morning. I went to school in the morning. I have problem with arithmetic in the evening. If you went to evening school, I know your own will be better. So at 35, in 20 years, what will your life be like? Where will you be? What will you be doing? If you are 30 now, you'll be 50. And if you are not thinking ahead and preparing, if you are 60 like I am, you'll be 80. Now, what will I be doing at 80 years of age? Now, try to think 30 years ahead, and you almost cannot imagine it. The world is going to be almost brand new in 20, 30 years. If the speaker is already thinking, in 20 years, Governor Don would have finished in 2023. So if you look at, if each coming governor does 8 years, in 24 years we would have had 3 more governors. If you're looking at 10 governors, we have had 6. If you have 3-4 governors in 30 years, where will Governor Zoom, our current governor, be in our thinking? We have no idea how much technology would have changed the world. There will be new voices in every sector. The major voices in politics, government, even the church would have changed. The church will have new fathers, politics will have new key players. When I was growing up, we have people like Shagari, but none of those people are here today. In the same way, in 30 years, the people who have held us hostage today will be gone. And you will be sure that you and I, if we are not preparing, will also lose our place in that space. Where would you be in all of this? Do you still want to be a spectator then, or do you want to be a player in the world of tomorrow? Now, how relevant you will be in 20-30 years is not a function of what you will do then. It is mostly determined by what you start doing now. If you be a voice to be heard in 20 years, you need to start speaking now. In just the last few years, we have seen groundbreaking changes that have affected transportation, communication, healthcare, finance, education, religion, and almost every area of human endeavor. Can you imagine that everybody is now a content producer? Can you imagine that the small church in our corrected town can have her service viewed live from London? The world has totally changed. So you don't need TV cameras. The first time we had a live service from our facility here, I was still expecting a van, the OB van, to come. And service started and I asked them, but where are the radio people? They said they are on. What are you saying? They said, where is their equipment? Where is the boss? They said, no, the guy just came with one small bag. I said, you heard us on radio? He said, we are on already. It's unbelievable. Because what I'm used to is that big OB van. And then AKBC was standing and said, we are now live from Now, we need to prepare. There's so much change. When the cell phone, just before the cell phone was launched, I bought a Siemens phone. I showed my father. My father used to be a newspaper man. He wasn't a villager, so to say. He worked for Daily Times, he worked for Chronicle, Statesman. So you see, he had a little journey from his village before he finally went back and became a chief. So he looked at the phone and said, are you saying this thing will work? I said, he said it's too small, it will not work. Because my father was used to that rotary phone. When you carry the handle, you wait for the tone to come. Then it will come. Oh, then you now look. And you wait for the response. And it was a radio newspaper man. The way they used to send their stories looked like this. You couldn't speak both of you at the same time. You press the button and said, and the governor went, and blah, 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 over. So the other person will write, and will also give you a sign, and you read. Growing up, we helped to send some of those stories. But you see, today, the world has so changed. Communication is totally, people who didn't think it would happen. When the rollout happened, and then my father came to town, and then he said, did the phone work? I said, yes. I said, by the way, you want to speak to, I have a cousin who used to be in the military. His name is also Sylvanus Ukafia. We only changed the different, I am aware in my middle name, he is Amos. So I said, well, you would like to speak to my namesake? And then I called him, and then he spoke with him. He said, it really worked. And it sounds well. I said, okay, so you better get your own phone. He said, no, it doesn't need it. They will take all your money. And after a while, they say, you still can play. You say, well, this thing will cause sickness. And eventually, outgrew all that complaint. So we can only imagine what the coming years will be, considering the acceleration of innovation. In all of these, there are two sides to choose from. One, become paranoid and attempt to resist change. You can think like a pastor. He said, nothing about God changes. It's the same. Things have got to happen. Or two, anticipate change and position yourself to take advantage of the change for advancement. You married that young woman, you were probably 18, 28, she was 25, or you were, same age, you all got married, you enjoyed a hard work, she got pregnant, and her debt began to increase, and then one baby, two babies, three babies. Now it's good to begin to anticipate, just before the start. To retain the same shape and gait will need a lot of work. And if that change is not anticipated and watered, you are likely going to have a lot of trouble. You are going to think it's not the same girl I married. It's not the same man. Because people are growing and are changing. But you can anticipate change. You can prepare. Now you can succeed in uncertain times. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 32, we're told about the children of Issachar who understood the times and they began to prepare for it. So from this precedent, we too can engage ourselves in meaningful preparation. Now if we would succeed in the fast changing times we are in, there are a few things that increase our chances or guarantee our success. The first is that we work with the one who sees tomorrow. Because we cannot anticipate what will eventually happen, we cannot say clearly. We just listen to Bill Gates, who spoke about, showed us the map, and we saw where Ebola started from. And one of the things he said was that we were lucky he never got into an urban area. I said, no, he got into Lagos. So that happened. But in Lagos, God saved us that we had civilized people who could eventually cordon off this fellow who came in. And he came in a way that if he had probably also come through bus, mingled with market people and all that, it would have been more difficult to get that under control. But that situation helped us to control that. But you see, if you walk with the one who sees tomorrow, now God, as human beings, tomorrow will continue to be a mystery to us. This is only so because we are men. But you see, when we walk with God, when we connect with Him, when we begin to see the way He sees, when we become His children and have the benefit of the Holy Spirit, we can begin to think beyond the way people think. We can see what ordinary people cannot see. And that will usher into the era where we can predict tomorrow. Where things that ordinarily, how did Joseph help to save Egypt? Before the 7 years of plenty, he was able to tell them what God was going to do. So Joseph was able to develop a 14 years blueprint by one interpretation of prophecy or dream. That is still possible in our generation. That by the Spirit of God, I'm not averse to scholarship. I honor the PhD from Harvard. I celebrate the public physicians. And by the way, the guy who led the SARS response on behalf of the WHO in China in those days, he's a Bible teaching Christian. And has written a lot of articles to help the church navigate this current pandemic. So we are not opposed to proper, meaningful scholarship. But understand that beyond scholarship, there is a supernatural dimension to life. There is an understanding that only comes from the Spirit of God, that if you connect with God meaningfully and you can hear His voice, time comes when you can hear things that ordinary men cannot hear. And you can organize things in a way that will ensure that tomorrow works. Now the second point, that we must be committed to the mission, not the method. I consider this a great opportunity to reach people who probably would never have listened to me. Like was said in my introduction, I'm a teacher of God's word. So for me, this is an opportunity to bring a little understanding of maybe one scripture to somebody here who would probably never have had an opportunity to listen to me. So it is not about speaking from church. The method, Jesus, remember, encountered a Boko Haram crowd. They wanted an instant justice. They said this man was caught in the very act. The Lord said we should stone him. What do you say? He was speaking when they came, but he didn't answer them. He now wrote, so he changed his method. Now when you are stuck with methods, we are likely going to leave you behind. So you must understand what your mission is. The Kodak story is very interesting. Kodak was in the east, or was in the business of preserving memories. But the leaders at the time thought they were in the film selling business. We're told that the Kodak engineer invented digital photography. But his bosses felt it's not important. But digital photography eventually put Kodak out of business. So we must be ready to keep the mission alive, and eventually we might change the method. If not, what would a pastor be doing in this kind of hall? Let's celebrate the leaders of this event for giving us an opportunity. So for even preachers like us, we must understand that it is not the building, it is not the lectern, it is, we have many methods that we can use. Now is that new skills and new tools. New skills, the skills that were required for success yesterday will likely be insufficient for the future. The language of the world is changing, the channels of communication are changing, the ways we learn and interact are changing, the ways we buy things, pay for things, travel, meet, and even learn is all changing. And if you are not changing, now you know the Nigerian system is for you to be treated like a very big man. When you are traveling, your aides go, get your boarding pass, wait for you, but all that is changing. You now go and check in by yourself. You probably check in before you get to the airport. You have your boarding pass on your phone, you scan it yourself. That's not a Nigerian, but that also is changing, and we need to learn. So if you say, well, I cannot learn how that is done, then you will have problems with how far you can go. The skills of photography from 15 years ago may not exactly enable you to compete today. The computer skills you had 15 years ago are definitely obsolete today. Today my phone is far bigger than my first computer. My desktop first, this is several gig RAM size above my first desktop computer. This can do, in fact, I can't remember when last, I'm now used to only working from my phone or a small mini pad. Things have changed greatly. What big strengths could not do, ordinary phones cannot. We need to learn new skills, get new tools, and see how that will advance with us. Number 4, we need to build and maintain strong relationships. I don't know how I got here, but I think there must be somebody that I have encountered. I guess maybe Morgan or one of his people, and from that one relationship, I was able to be invited to this meeting. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others, says that African proverb. So if you want to go far, if you want to produce more results, that's why we are not more into competition. We collaborate with people. You build meaningful relationships. If I'm thinking of 20 years to come, I'll be 80 in 20 years. And at 80, I'm not interested in speaking to church congregations. I'll be more mentoring national leaders. And we're working at that. Up to last year, now I have my mentoring group of people who are 30 years younger than me. I have a new group that's 35 years younger than me. Now, by the time they get on the stage, I will still be relevant because I'm their coach. So we need to build and maintain relationships. That young boy today, that young girl today, you don't know how and where they're going to be. Invest in them and be part of what they are. Don't only reach out to people when you need them. Now that's a very wrong way. You just use people. No, don't. Reach out to people when you can add something to them. When you can. I have a young man who was with me last week on leave from his location, and in that meeting I was introducing him. He encountered Christ playing drums in the village in Operity. A new church had come next door to their house, so as a little boy, he jumped there, learned how to play drums, and he kept playing. And then he decided he was going to be a pastor. And he read religion and cultural studies from here and said he was going to do ministry. And then we're mentoring him, and then we're training him as a theologian. Now he's wrapping up his master's degree. And when we were marketing him, and he said he had this job offer, he had that job offer. I said, it's your life decision. Whichever way you want to go. Once you make up your mind, we're going to support. But we encourage him to go forward. Now you have a future here. Today, we're now struggling with his local university and us as an organization to have it. Invest in people. Connect with them. And he's several years much younger than me. So you see what we stand to gain in connecting, building, meaningful. And that takes me to my fifth point of how you can invest in and for the future. Matthew 25 tells us the story of the 10 virgins. 10 who? I can't hear you. Virgins. All of them were what? Virgins. Now, if I wrote the Bible, I would have written the story of the 5 wise and 5 foolish. But he said there were 10 virgins. Now, but not all of them were prepared for that journey. They were all ready. They went to see the master. Then only 5 had extra oil. My prayer is that all of us will have a plan. What's your plan for your family, your career, your finance, your marriage in 10 years? Or will you be like the 5 foolish? Or are you like the 5? Now, my way of distinguishing people in the 2 groups, which side you belong to, is that do you keep asking what you need from other people? We came to this meeting this morning. Did you come with everything you needed? Or you need to get something from your neighbor? There will be a wait that we don't know how this is going to play out. But we all came. 5 of the people said, let's take extra oil. And the other 5 said, don't worry, this thing will soon get through. Like I said to Morgan at the beginning, don't be under pressure. When you are involved with anything meaningful, things go wrong. And then you learn, you grow with it. You get challenged by it. And with experience, you will understand, you will prepare. No matter how well you prepare, like they say, things will eventually still have a problem. Let me close with this mentorship or legacy talk. If you're a young person looking forward to the future, at this stage you should be more concerned about building experience, expanding your network, and developing a very diverse set of skills, or mastering the skills you already have. It's not primarily about money. It's important and necessary to earn well, but seek and value opportunities that give you access to experience and exposure more than just money. Find the right mentors. Learn all you can. It will pay more in the long run. I remember when I was in my master's class for human anatomy, I had a professor who is Indian who had taught me in the MBBS class, and then I started out my career at the University of Port Harcourt And I had a couple of seniors in the department. One had a scholarship to go to Japan, one was going to Canada, and I said to them, Calabar has a master's degree program. I'm buying the form once it's out. Now all those people eventually went with me to Calabar. And then my professor had said to me, don't think about what you are getting now, get an extra degree. And that puts me and all of us ahead of the pack. So invest in your future. Now if you are in midlife or approaching later life, then you should be thinking of legacy. Who are you transferring your experience to? Who are you building up and bringing into your current influential network? Who will continue to speak your voice when you are gone? Without legacy, every success you have achieved will be forgotten as soon as you are off the stage. Just like the men of Issachar, understand the season of your life informs and helps you determine what you should be doing as you prepare for and anticipate the future. Ladies and gentlemen, as we face the future, you know, as Christian people, we have a way of doing that sign, say it's not my portion. When you read the success literature, it talks about the obituary principle of success. Write your own obituary. What would you like to be said about you when you have passed? And then back up and begin to do those things yourself. God bless you.
I think we have one question. I will check the eyes for everyone. And I'm going to start from Mr. break down the papers and come up to life. So the first and only question I will go through everybody is Mr. Yet and and every other person. How would you describe the average Akwa Ibom youth?
Alright, thank you very much, Morgan, and I hope everybody can hear me. First of all, I'm excited to be here. I believe this is okay. Alright, so just to give a quick response to your question, how would I describe the average Akwa Ibom youth? Very straightforward. That by facts and figures. A very So I will describe the average Akwa Ibom youth as one with vast potential that are yet to be tapped. Vast potential. That's why I'm excited about the future. Vast potential that are yet to be tapped.
Senator Johnson, do you disagree?
I'm not disagreeing. I am an Akwa Ibom child, so I'm going to use myself
As an example. So, an average Akwa Ibom child is an active citizen. He goes for solution and gets it. Wow. Let's celebrate that. Amazing. Somebody who's going to this event because I don't know the very well. Anyway, go ahead. What do you think of the average Akwa Ibom youth?
When you talk about an average Akwa Ibom youth, I see the likes of Collins and Scott. Someone who will go extra mile to achieve his dreams. Even when he doesn't have all the resources, but he believes that when he starts, people will identify with the struggle and come give the necessary support.
For me, I like to say that the Akwa Ibom youth that I know and interacting with is one who is futuristic in thinking, forward-looking, and has this never sit down kind of spirit. Whereas they have a defined path they follow through and ensure that they get what they want.
Wow. Awesome.
I want to agree with the point of view that's been held by all the panelists here. I want to deviate a little bit and say that in my experience, and I use myself also as an example, the average Akwa Ibom person, young person, is very passionate and knows what he wants. Sometimes there is some contest of ideas as to whether he knows how to get what he wants. But in the process of looking for answers to the questions, he tries his hands at everything and hopes that it will succeed. That is my personal experience.
From my personal experience and interaction with young people, I've interacted with a number of young people as a mentor and so many other things. I have discovered that when we talk about the average Akwa Ibom youth, we are not talking about maybe a handful who are maybe exceptional. We are talking about maybe the mass of Akwa Ibom youths. I would see that there is great potential in every Akwa Ibom youth, but most of them lack direction. Most of them lack direction. They have an energy, but they are confused. I've discussed with so many people in my workspace, after events like this. They want to do stuff, but they don't even know how to go about it. So that was why I was excited when I got this invite, because I love to speak, and as it were, if I could direct one or two more people, I see there's energy and potential, but they lack direction.
You can't give another mic. If you can't drop another mic somewhere, then let's stay with you. Dejoseph Moses, I prefer to call him the real woodpecker. He's a carpenter. In fact, the English is too good. He's a carpenter. I don't know how to say. He works with wood. Carpenter. He's a carpenter. He's a carpenter, and he produces all manner of stuff. As the chairman of the planning committee, some of it has wrote about it. He says, whenever you see quality woodwork in Akwa Ibom State, if it wasn't imported from Germany or London, then it was made by Dejoseph Moses. I'd like to ask, what is your motivation for the excellence you bring to your work? Is it an Akwa Ibom thing, or you brought it from outside?
It's not an Akwa Ibom thing, it's not an outside thing, it is a me thing. If I say it was an Akwa Ibom thing, there are many Akwa Ibom workmen I've seen, and immediately I see them, I know they won't do well, or they won't last long. And there are many outsiders I see who also don't have that excellent spirit. I think when a person gets to realize who he is and what he wants to achieve, excellence is produced. So the passion and the excellence I exude, I had to think. It was someone who said we think a lot. I don't think anybody can ever think a lot. I believe thinking should precede action. A man said so many people act the way they do maybe because they didn't think first. So I actually thought, and I don't think I'll have enough time to do justice to all I have to say, but my present path, I was actually going to prove a point, and I have proved that point. So the excellence, the passion, and everything you see is a new thing. I had to develop it, and that's what it is right now.
Thank you. I think we're going to my boss, Mr. Rockefeller. He never likes to be called a politician, but he can't run away from it. We're all here. Mr. Rockefeller, while speaking, said he entered into politics intentionally. What could you describe as the entry point for you politically? Was it intentional, or was it an attempt to just create value wherever a platform was found?
I think I need to ask myself if I enter into politics. Because I'd love to ask the right side of your view. If you were asked the mentions of politicians that you know, whether you will include. But very, very important is that you take part in the political process. For me, I think I found myself in public service, which is how I like to describe myself more by accident. And there were people who thought that I could add some value, and they gave me an opportunity. And I remember those who were advocates of rap music, the Guru before the likes of West came and messed it up. There was a song by Nas, I said all I knew is and I think when I had that one mic, I wasn't in a hurry to leave it. And I told the story to a good number of people. I found myself what Gideon chooses to call the Roman to the microphone by accident. I run a public speaking class, and I tell us that everyone knows how to speak. Most of us can speak, we can communicate, that's how we share ideas. But being able to speak in such a way that people will either pay to listen to you or pay to have you speak at the event takes more than just the ability to communicate. And so there was a deliberate attempt on my part when I realized that there were people who appreciated what I could do to see how I would do it so well. Not because I wanted to be the best in the state, there were not the criteria for assessing that. But I told everybody who cared to listen. And I wanted a situation that we wanted to mention the top 5 people in whatever I choose to do, you will find myself in there. And I used to find people who, I wanted a man who said, it's so good that even the enemies recommend you, they can't ignore you. Let them recommend you angrily. Let them accept deep within them that the person is good on merit. And I always had to struggle with the value quota quotient. I find that very many of us, even young people, we want to get something on quota basis, not on value basis. I want to work with another people because I come from Zulu, not because it's something I have to offer. And the main fact that I come from Zulu, I think I am better qualified than somebody who has value but who comes from Birmingham, Kevin, and who will see will add better value to his work. So we concentrate so much on quota at the expense of value. Every single day we hear something that was going to be done by an Akwa Ibom person, they want someone from outside to come and do it. From Lagos, from Abuja. At that point, every single qualification that we think we have for that job is the fact that we are doing that from Akwa Ibom. But we forget that the world has moved beyond that. And that people are looking for those who can solve problems better than other people. So I think we should concentrate more on competing more based on value and not necessarily on quota. Because when you have value, quota becomes an added advantage. It's something I always say. When you have value, quota becomes an added advantage. I want to work with him because I'm from Zulu. But then he sees that I have a lot of value. So the fact that I'm from Zulu now buttresses his intention of giving me that responsibility. Not because I'm from Zulu, no matter whatever I do or anything, it just fits me. So that's it for me. And I think over time we find a lot of people. I say remember that my impression I have had of us, our generation in this state, is there's a passion, yes, there's an intention. But sometimes we're not prepared to do what it takes for us to be able to get ourselves into that position. And unfortunately and sadly, I don't think it started from our generation. But I think it's something our generation needs to do something about it. I don't think I'm taking too much time, but very quickly I will share an experience. My father said something to me so very many years ago. He passed 14 years ago. I was very young, and he said it in the video. He said, "Don't break down, he said, I'm not very better." I don't know what made him say it, something years ago. But I sit back and I ask myself, every single brand, every single name, every single organization, every single entity run by an Akwa Ibom person, promoted by an Akwa Ibom person, that was the in thing 10 years ago, and they see the in thing now. So what my father told me some 25 years ago appears as if it's still going through. Look at it in entertainment, in business, in whatever venture, even in religious organizations. People who are selling nightclubs, photography, business, handouts, everything. Think about what was raining 10 years ago. Is it still raining now? And if not, why? So I appreciated the presentation that Manny did. I think we need a strong structural mentorship because we are always eager to blame everyone and every circumstance other than ourselves. We are always eager to point out what could have been done right without talking about what we could have done differently. I think it is going to be the beginning of a realization of the fact that the future everyone talks about is here and we are that particular future. And maybe the change that we need actually needs to begin with us. Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyway, I'm going to jump my brother over the end, come back to him. Mr. Ekanem has started by saying an Akwa Ibom person is full of potential, but untapped. But one of the things I've heard, my boss representative has already mentioned it in passing, is that the problem with an average Akwa Ibom person is the mentality problem. Mentality problem. Personally, I don't even know what the word mentality problem means, or the phrase, or the usage. Because a lot of people have different interpretations and definitions for that clause, or phrase, or whatever. But do you think we have a mentality problem? If we do, what does it mean?
All right, thank you very much, Morgan. Let me tell you something, though. Whilst Raphael was speaking, I was praying that I'll be next.
The Lord answers prayers, like the Dejoseph Society Nigeria.
There you go. First things first. Let me share some.
Let me share some information with you. Now, to lend credence to a lot of what he has said, I recently just finished the stint as the management of the lead consultant, the AKIRS. So in other words, I've been sitting over the state's IGR, with sensitive data and information. Let's look at it this way, so that we can come to an answer that for the question that you raised. For payers who earn taxes, which is a percentile of net income, net salary paid to individuals working in organizations in the private sector, organized private sector in Akwa Ibom State. You have, and I'm being conservative when I say this because it is slightly much more than that. You have about 81% of the top remittances, meaning that 81% of the top earners in private organizations in the state being paid to people that are not from the state. Now, I'm not being ethnocentric. I'm not tribalistic or anything. Absolutely not. But I'm telling you that there is a real challenge when the people that are in a territory, in a geographical territory as Akwa Ibom State, are the least earners in the organization that contribute the highest to the IGR. That's a problem. Now, why is that a problem? Because you will now begin to see that, for instance, it's okay, and that's why I wanted to jump on what he said. It's okay when people come to set up businesses in your state and they hire you. That's just because you're available. What we need to do facing the future is to be able to raise the competence level from threshold to differentiating, so that even before they come to set up businesses here, they are headhunting you so that you become part of the process of setting up. Why? Not just because you're from CBBM or you're from Ekanem or where I'm from or you're from Ekanem, but because you're good at what you do. And not just because you're good at what you do, but because you're great at what you do. So the world is moving from being excellent to being exceptional right now. And some way, somehow, and let me say this to everyone here. When we talk about, the can-do spirit, the doggedness, I'm sorry, I will have to tell you that it is not the general rule. I celebrate everybody that stands out. I celebrate the great minds that are here. But you know that these people here represent just a fraction of the real power that can be harnessed in the city, in the capital city, Texas of the state. So it means that we are still not yet a critical mass of right-thinking, solution-minded, and innovation-driven people. We are still not a critical mass. So when Bible says that there's a mentality issue, my brother, I believe that there is. I believe that there are people that have an overbloated sense of entitlement, that think that just because I carry your last name, your middle name, or I'm related to your cousin's mother, then you should give me preference over someone that is aptly qualified for the job. And let me just play this in before you yank me off this mic. Why do you think that you have organizations that don't have institutional, lineage, that don't last long? Because we always have a system where we have little or more organizational development within the system. Structures and processes, like Manny said, were extremely lacking. Financial intelligence and literacy was totally out of the game. And now we now have a problem whereby we also have, and now everybody is about to shoot me, we also have a serious history of devaluing our own. So much so that people will come from outside, place a value on the people that they meet, and unfortunately even value them at the level in which the people around are valuing them. Where the people that they're dealing with should be getting more from them. Why? Because we have sadly so a chronic culture of pulling down our own.
End of message. Let's scale up. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I want to say Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I start to make my mistake, don't correct me. Mr. Speaker, you know, I'm now feeling that we should have allowed the people that wanted to go. That's what I think. Please, if you wanted to leave, let it open. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to come back to you because one of the things we want to avoid in this summit is verb usage. The word scale up, prepare to define it. Because I don't, we need to be sure who was scaling up to and what the scale is going to be. But let me start with Hanson Johnson, international guy from Akwa Ibom, award-winning, not award-winning in Mbok. You understand? Because if it's Mbok, you now begin to think that naturally an African man has strength, so he will carry a white. No, it's not Mbok. It's award-winning in ICT, and you know that's the new oil. Mr. Hanson Johnson, how do you feel competing with players in your industry outside Akwa Ibom State globally? Do you think that they are better placed than you are because of the environment you were born and you grew up in? Or do you think that everything you knew as a young man prepared you for the place you are now in, seated globally? The end of this question is to know if there are things in Akwa Ibom that are designed to keep people low, or those who stay low are low by choice.
Thank you very much for that question. Because of the industry I play in, the knowledge economy, it thrives on talent and infrastructure.
Like house?
Not just house. Now, talent is scarce globally, and the only place you have talent is in Akwa Ibom. Talent is scarce globally, and the only place you have talent is in Akwa Ibom.
Is that politics?
It is not politics. I'm going to proclaim the contribution from the other speakers. You just said now that we are the least earners in top organizations, meaning we have raw talent that lack opportunity. Talent is everywhere, opportunity is not everywhere. So if you can harness the talent we have here, opportunity will locate them. So for us to compete globally is a difficult setting. We don't see anyone in Nigeria. We are competing with the best, the top 3. Thank you for money. He said we should look at the top 3. So top 3 for us is not good in Africa. It's top 3 globally. And in the mindset, I think nature has a way of always also connecting you to what you dream to become. It's not just by hard work alone. There is something spiritual from experience. There are some things you aim. Someone said we lack direction.
Yeah.
So you don't know how you are going to get there, but you must get there. So just like now that we have begun to talk about businesses lasting for the next 10 years, 10 years is too small, we are going to last 100 years. So, and the journey has already started.
That means that we should keep it, we will keep having Start Innovation Hub forever.
And the structure is already on ground. Start Innovation Hub is a blueprint that's being run. We are not just working over it. We are there.
We need to see it. Let us celebrate it. I'm going to say, I'm going to get Francis. Somebody says the form. I won't put the form back, I will take over your room. You were in Lagos. You've been to Asaba. And you get back to Akwa Ibom. Because this is where you started, born and developed. Fly around, you come back Peter and Paul. Is there something you saw in Lagos that is not in Akwa Ibom? And is there something in Akwa Ibom that is not in Lagos? Compare the entertainment sphere in Akwa Ibom and Lagos. Give us our strength and give us our weaknesses.
Okay, when I wanted to leave Lagos and come back to Akwa Ibom, my colleague said I was hustling backwards, and I felt insulted. Because they don't know my case, they don't know Akwa Ibom. We have one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. That is our strength. We have one of the most traffic-friendly states, and that is our strength. We have talent, that's our strength. But what we lack is opportunity, like you said. Now what makes Lagos Lagos in entertainment is because every week you have at least 5 productions going on. And so actors will always want to go to Lagos believing that if there are 5 productions in a week, I should be able to be in one. And so the opportunity that we have there. The next thing they have is they have people who believe in the craft, they believe in the entertainment industry, and they have built a structure that has helped the industry to thrive in Lagos. That is what we don't have. The speaker initiated the constituency briefing and empowerment thing, and many questions carried along.
Yes.
And so I believe because I believe that you know that we need your support. What am I saying? So when I corporate, people don't even understand the potential of the entertainment industry. And I think they are just jokers, they do that dance or they do film. So the strength we don't have, that what we lack is the people to believe in the industry, we don't have the structure for energy to thrive, and we don't have opportunity. And we don't have trained filmmakers. Like we talked about scaling up, we talked about, he said something about excellence. We don't have people, we cannot achieve excellence if we're not trained. And so most of the filmmakers in Akwa Ibom State are working from passion. Oh, I want to make films, I want to be a cinematographer, but are you trained? Do you know what your colleague, what your counterparts in Lagos know? You don't know the challenges we have here. And what makes Lagos different from Akwa Ibom State?
We're going to come back to you, but let's end the second round with Oroma Bassi. So this is the People's Democratic Party. Very risky terrain. Do you agree? Is it risky?
Well, I don't think it's risky.
Okay, don't worry. It is not risky. We get the right chance. When the Speaker on Politics was speaking, he talked about the fact that the role of youth in politics is not media and not public alone. The other role. I emphasize that by saying that youth do not have to be media warlords. I'm going to ask you a very pointed question. In this new assignment that you've taken up, because as it were, you are not a model youth to all of us, do you intend to be a media warlord?
I don't know what that is actually, because we're talking about trying to define terms. So I will try, I will pass the question back to you, tell me what being a media warlord actually is. But I like to say that my job role is cutlery, and that has to be in protecting and managing the image of the People's Democratic Party of Ghana State. If you notice, most of the releases I have sent out are just reactionary to what the people in the opposition will actually want to talk about my party. And I like to say, Morgan, I remember that in one of the editions of the Dejoseph Summit, I said that I want to see young people coming to have no solidarity. I find that more, amongst the elderly in politics. In the few years I've been in politics, I realized that irrespective of political leanings, political differences, you find that when there is a major interest, no matter which political divide someone will, we tend to come together and communicate on the same table. So why don't we have that for young people? If I were to ask, which I would like for you to help me ask, how many people actually belong to political parties there? Because in Nigeria, everywhere around the world, political parties are the vehicle through which people get into government and make policies and influence policies. So you have to begin first of all by having a party there. It was Bertolt Brecht said, a German philosopher and filmmaker have said, that the most illiterate is a political illiterate. That he beats his chest and says he's very interested in politics. But then the policies, about healthcare, about the cost of price in the market, the cost of foodstuff in the market, everything, education for his child, is actually made by people who are in politics. And so I want to see in this day a situation where a lot of young people begin to go to their lessons and get, it doesn't matter, you can be a lawyer, PDP, any party. I'm impressed that a young person is actually a contestant I wish we were in the PDP, we give him a lot of support. Right. Because that's what we find in the PDP that we have lots of them, but that's what the parties do. We're trying to consciously ensure that we give platforms to a lot of young persons. The people that stay beside me is a member of the political party which I belong to. He's a young person. Madam Ekanem is a young person. I'm also a really young speaker on the platform of the PDP as a young person. So the PDP is very conscious about giving these opportunities to the young people because we understand that they are the present and the future that we're going into. And if we decide that we are the future that we should take seriously, we have to believe that we're taking ourselves seriously. How do you start that? Ensure that all the political processes on Saturday, that's tomorrow, we're going to be having congresses for the new work,
You are going to have to pay for the platform.
I'm just telling you because I want for them to get involved. That's where we begin. That's where elections are actually held at the end of the year. Elections are not held at the end of the year. So I want for everyone here belongs to much. Go back to the place. If you intend to register in any political party that you fancy, go back to that place. Ensure you get a party card. Get involved. Because you cannot sit and continue to complain that the people that are representing us are not doing what we expect them to do. Come out. Contest the elections. If you don't contest the election, ensure that you vote. We have the strength, the youthful strength, the youthful watch. So let us have these groups of solidarity now so that we can push things for ourselves.
Thank you very, very much. Group solidarity there. I'm going to leave you, I'll come back to you. But let me come to Tefon Moses. Somebody sold this code for me about a month ago. I got the clothes, I loved it, I wore it. And then, as I was preparing for this event, the people who have powers over my life told me I need to wear new clothes. And I called the guy, I said, show me your white material, I want to appear holy. Now, he sold the clothes delivered yesterday, I carried to work this morning. My friend who was there with me in Ghana, he had to ask me to change it. I can't take balance. This life without balance. I loved what he did. And I went back and he gave me something totally different. I wish he's watching this, I won't mention his name. Sometime within the week I was with my boss, Rob, and he talked about this young man, and I also hope he's listening. This young man who sows is stronger this week and it sizes him perfectly. The next week he sows, the thing doesn't enter. And I remember when colleagues Oscar started the day that Akwa Ibom showroom, I was a stakeholder, but now I'm a shareholder. I used to go there often just to see the quality guy and stuff, and I would buy chinch. I love peanuts, chinch, all those stuff. Although people say I should reduce it. So I went, I would buy a particular peanut today, it would be very nice. And I'll buy another peanut, the same level of it. Next week, it will taste very different. It's like it is too much sugar, too much salt, too much something, but it's something too much. But I've observed that whatever woodpecker delivers has the same statement. The same statement on quality, the same statement on finishing. I have to ask you, you have trained a lot of people in your trade, and you also get into the trade to meet people. All these things I say is that I'm mentioning the thing I have seen, a lack of standard in service delivery amongst our people. I'd like to ask you, what are the other things that you would like to advise everybody seated here, that into business, they're into any form of thing, that you have done, that has given the permanence of quality, that you think if they can start their brand will come with such permanence. Every time you drink up is coke. So we like it to be that every time they deliver whatever they deliver is the same quality. One thing you've done that you think they can do that will promote your brand.
Thank you very much. That was why I said, you asked me, is it an Akwa Ibom thing, is it a Lagos thing? I said it's really my thing. Because before I went into woodwork, I thought for 4 months what I wanted to do. And I thought about how I wanted to do it. I projected 50 years into
did that, and the growth. And many people go into business or skill and for so many reasons, like MP said. You don't go into politics only for what you can gain, but for the service you can give. So before I started, I made some vows, and those vows were that I would do woodwork, or I would do craft work differently. I would put some dignity into craft work. When I walked in here, the person interviewing people at the front asked me, sorry, who are you? And I said, I'm a carpenter. That's how I introduce myself everywhere. I leave every other title aside. And I say, I'm a carpenter. And before he asked that, he asked me two questions before then, and I didn't know what he thought I was. But immediately I said, I'm a carpenter. I said, and why are you speaking like this? You're not speaking like a carpenter. I said, how is a carpenter supposed to speak? That is the problem. We think being craft are just, okay, let me just get by, let me just make ends meet. They are one of the most important people in society.
Yeah, sure.
And if we attach, or if we have it at the back of our mind that we are important, we are needed, it will translate in our work and our service delivery. A number of craftsmen think, oh, let me just sew this cloth and make the money more than it's going to give me. A number of carpenters just say, oh, let me just make this and go home and need this money. And I do everything we do, or we do everything we do as a brand to satisfy the customer, to satisfy ourselves and to keep ourselves relevant. I rejected a $2.something million job once, and the man was surprised. The owner of the job said, this is a good job. And why did I reject it? Sorry. He wanted to use a particular material for his kitchen cabinet, and I do not work with that material for kitchen cabinets. A lot of people do. And he said, but people are I said, sir, in 1 year's time or 2 years' time, when your kitchen begins to fall apart, you will forget that I told you this material will last. You will see what the woodpeckers did for me. And that is what you will tell everybody. See what the woodpeckers did. So I am building a brand to last or to stand the test of time. So when I have shows, and I tell them my clients, I am not doing the work for you. People come to me and they are confused. You pay me for a job. They say, I do the work for you. I say, no, I'm doing it for myself, not for you. And they don't understand that I'm gaining more than your money when I do the job properly. I'm gaining your referral. I remember I used to advertise a lot on social media. There was a time I was everywhere. I was sponsoring ads on Facebook. I stopped advertising on social media. But I'm working more than people who have showrooms. By the way, I don't have a showroom. But I'm working more than people who have showrooms. And somebody came to me the other day and said, where did I wash my face? I want to wash your face. And that is because everything that leaves our premises must have a standard. I have had to display things. We do job and display, and I'm looking at it, and my boy said, it's okay. I said, it is not okay. Go and buy more things. And this is now from, I will say, my profit. And then I won't gain. I said, go and buy more things. At the end of the day, that client gives me 3 or 4 more clients. And I make back that money. People don't think that way. People think immediately, I want to make all these 50,000 now. Sometimes we do things. I do a lot of giveaways and a lot of competitions, and people say, how do you make up for that? And even the things I give away are standard. And I'm like, I'm just sowing a seed. So if our workmen, craft people, realize that, like if that guy realizes that you are going to wear that cloth to the Dejoseph Summit, and Pastor Kafia, MP, money is going to be, and probably like that cloth, and ask you, where did you sew it? And he's going to have over maybe 200 more customers. Yeah, he would have done that problem. So he is thinking of the 2,000 or 5,000 you're going to pay, not thinking of the referrals he will get by doing that properly. We go the extra mile to think of the whole that furniture is going to, the referral we're going to get, and that is why we always do that.
The person is not you. That person stand up. Behind the leader was out there. Yes, you. Yes, you. You really want to be a carpenter. What are you doing now? Shout.
I'm a student.
Student of what? Thank you. School.
I study at State. Barr. I stay here. I'm pursuing my postgraduate studies.
But when you're doing your postgraduate studies and you come out with whatever. Alright, so all the resource persons here, all of us, we are training you with the room paper. One day all of us can open your training fee. Sit down. Congratulations. You're starting. Monday is fine. Alright, thank you. So I'm going to come back to Raphael. A lot of things have been said. It's very amazing thing. But I have to ask you this question. There has been a commentary that most vibrant young persons who are residing in Akwa Ibom are now going to politics. When they want to say that nothing heavy, they now say, look at Morgan. They're into politics. See more of politics. Now mention. You know, the full stop will be even rapid than politics. Sir, granted that we cannot ignore the political sphere, I'll ask you a double-barreled question. Number one, do you think that all of us should pull out to make the commentary makers happen? Or do you think we should stay in it? And if we're going to stay in it, what would be your template? What would be your advice to those of us in it and those of us who want to come into it so that we can be in it differently?
I don't know if you keep asking political questions to a non-politician like this. But my quick answer to you, my modern would be, I don't think politics should be a full-time engagement. Every politician that lasts long, that intends to last long, most of them will check they have a second address. There's enough of you is a liar. He wasn't born a politician, he didn't study. So if for whatever reason the gentleman doesn't find himself in political office, you think he's going to go and hang around someone's house? You don't receive him with a government court. You are a lawyer. Morgan Governor is a PR practitioner. And there's a whole lot more. So politics is something that people, I don't think anybody should have a complimentary card that reads politician. Let it be a vocation. You have something else to do because you enjoy playing politics when you have something else to fall back on. Yeah. When you don't have anything to fall back on, those are the people that actually want to kill themselves in politics because they are only close to fame, to relevance, they are only being TikTok, the only thing that can follow their highest political office. These are the people who show desperation. If this young man gets into politics, he will be desperate because as a matter of fact, he will find out he will actually be spending more money from his business into politics. And if you look at the little history of our state, there are people who are in businesses who some people think that politics really is their businesses. So I think it's something that people can do side by side. It doesn't stop. I don't think anyone should be a full-time politician. You don't have anything else to do. Now, if you don't find something, it's a different thing than deliberately choosing that you don't want to do anything. You're going to find yourself in a lot of frustration. And I want to quickly add to what my brother said. I call him my brother not just because he's sitting beside me, but he's from my village, and we're very excellent people. Everybody know that. So I like to say something. He's from my village, not from Senegal, he's not from the brother, he's not from anywhere. He's from Mono Kalita, where I come from. And where I I don't believe anybody anywhere on the face of the earth succeeded because everything was laid out well for him. Even in Lagos, where we like to make as a reference point, it's not everybody in Lagos is successful. The rules and the principles are similar, the environment may be different. And most people did not succeed because there were no challenges. They succeeded despite of those challenges. I say this because we love to blame our environment. But in this same environment where we are, I was speaking to young people at Pastor Noma's church a few years ago. They asked me to speak. And I asked a question which I'm going to throw here. I schooled in the East, so I have friends all over the country, so I'm not tribalistic, I'm like an alien. But I want to ask a question. I don't know if many of you knows any of our brothers from the East, any Igbo man that we like to call them. In this Akwa Ibom, now when it is Monday, he doesn't have anywhere to go to. I don't know any. So in this place where we say there are no opportunities, where there are no jobs, where we don't value ourselves, every single Igbo man that I know in this town, you will not find him at home by himself unless his business keeps him at home. So the question is, what are they doing? In this same time. My father used to tell me, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. It's up to you. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you cannot, you're right. So in this particular town, there are people who are able to make you do whatever thing that they want to do. Look has said something. I don't know which restaurant is the best here. Where people want to eat in this state, where do you go to first? There's a particular hotel that over the years, you want to eat good for everybody goes there. The castle. I'm not doing that bad, but everybody owns it. Yeah. And I think it's also a good thing in Akwa Ibom when people don't know the owner of the business. When they know the owner of the business, they begin to discriminate. That is why I'm brothers from the East. We don't know the owners of the supermarkets that we go to. But please, Mr. Barr still there. Okay, fine. In 2014, my son turned 1. I was the first person that used any garden for my son's birthday. I've not told him this before. 2 of my friends who were supporting a different political aspirant for governor then called me and said, we can't call for the son's birthday because I will need it in the last place. I'm telling you a true story. So we bring our political partisanship into business. There are people who will not recognize you because of where you come from, but because of the church that you attend. And we only do it to ourselves, purchasing what they can say earlier. The places where we go to buy spare parts or we buy it by the market, do we know who owns it? Do we know where the person come from? What are you looking for? There are people who will not recognize in terms of where is it from? I won't call them. They don't go there. People is that in Now why do I use the castle as an example? Almost everybody who builds a hotel in this state, when they want to cook, they go and poach cooks from the castle. I know about 4. We look for, I know this is about how about do we pay 50,000, they pay 70. Now they have poached cooks from the castle over the years. But I think the soup still remains worthless. What is something, what are they doing? They have put a structure in place. Whoever comes in as a chef, as a cook, goes through that process. We need to define standards and set certain standards for whatever thing we want to do. And we need to begin to reject mediocrity and the altar of that. It is something that I've seen so very many times. All the places that have poached cooks from that place, I consulted from Nigeria for about 6 years. And people used to complain. Initially, you go to the Nigeria to go and eat. And I remember when we used to have Monday morning meetings. Somebody said that if you eat out from the Lagos or and it tastes one kind, he can pardon it. But if you eat out from, no, not that. If you eat at Tama, if you eat at Tama, if you eat at Tama or from any restaurant in Akwa Ibom and it is not nice or it is an unpardonable offense. Why? I don't want to okay, I will mention her name. Those who know her may know. The current company secretary, she's from this state. I know her and I know the family closely. At that time when she comes to Akwa Ibom, she was still at the there. But the lady used to eat there was breakfast. Lunch and dinner was from the castle. But she was staying at the place where she was paying a lot of money. The people set standards. We need to begin to reject mediocrity in whatever thing that we do, because the rules of success are the same, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a carpenter, whether you're an actor, whether you're whatsoever. And we blame everybody but ourselves, which is why it's again, we're not going to have one more than we issue again. No, I don't say we can't do it, I can actually that's the truth. So we need to be able to make sure that we take responsibility for our actions. Follow what people do. And also eschew the timidity that we have amongst us here. Personal experience. There's no job, there's no MC job I look forward to. We are going to have to MC event outside Akwa Ibom. Reason, 90% of the time, they look at me like, where did this one come from? At the end of the event, we're asking you for a complimentary car. I'm not posting, I'm telling you the truth. Every time you say, where do you live? I say, I live in New York, and they look at me like this. What are you doing in New York? I say, I'm doing what? I'm working. So irrespective of where you find yourself, like I said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. But when you want to blame environmental factors, when you want to blame politicians for not supporting your hustle, when you want to blame your family members, when you want to blame your father or your mother, think of those who succeeded who don't have fathers or who don't have politicians. Set certain standards for yourself in whatever thing that you want to do. Refuse to accept. Therefore, has given us an excellent template, in my opinion. There are certain things when I speak to people about providing service. I said, if the money they are paying you is not enough for you to do your best, do the job. And if you accept to do the job, whether you do it free of charge, or you are being paid a linear amount of money, do it as if you are being paid the best amount of money possible. Personal experience. I volunteer for the Military Foundation. Used to pay into MC the Teachers Awards every year. But when I saw the sacrifice and the contribution that a lot of Akwa Ibom people have been making, especially those from outside the state, in improving education and students in the state. So I walked up to the chairperson, Mrs. Tropicana, and I said, Madam, my contribution to this event every year is that I will enter this event and you don't pay me. He said, no, we have a budget for it. I said, give it to another person. If I'm not free, at that time I said, what place will the Marcus could come, only another person. But every time I do something here, that is my own contribution to that event. The first year, I MC that event, free of charge event. The guest speaker of that event was Mr. Mikey Pocky, the first Nigerian to be CEO of MTN. At the end of the event, he called me and said, I don't know why we have events in our Lagos. I will bring comedians to come and pass up our events. In his words, so I'm not talking about anybody. Can you come to Lagos and MC an event for MTN? I asked him, sir, Lagos, and I said, where is Lagos? I am not come to. I went and did an event for MTN in Lagos, took 3 weeks after that. It was less than an hour. He paid my flight ticket, gave me 2 nights hotel accommodation at a 5-star hotel, paid me 1 million naira. For talking, this same talk we're talking about. I didn't remember well. Now, from that same event, which I did free of charge, I want to welcome my brother, Commissioner for Information, who has joined us. Please put your hands together for coffee. I forgot I wasn't the MC. I'm used to introducing people. Now, from that same event, the day that the event was going on, the University of Lagos had their convocation. And they were giving an honorary doctorate degree to Mr. Herbert Imomo, who was chairman of the board of GTB. And that evening, they had a reception. His company had a reception for him at Lagos again. And I hear they were planning to bring someone from Lagos to come and MC that event. But one of the people had sauntered into the earlier event and saw me and said, can you do that event for us? I said, yes. So they called the person in the event manager, and cancelled. And I did that event. It lasted 2 hours. They paid me the same amount of money, 1 million naira they paid me. It's a long time ago, so all of them are Now, from one event which I did free of charge, I got referrals for 2 events which I was paid 2 million naira. It's a personal story. So the point now is, what standards are we willing to set for ourselves, and what standards are we willing to accept? Because we accept global standards because it is our brother that is involved. And we have a natural tendency whenever somebody makes an input or says you could have done this thing better, we don't raise ourselves to meet other people's standards. We try to bring people down to our own standards. If we are able to benchmark ourselves against the best, like you say, maybe come through whatever thing you want to do. The largest room in the world is a room for improvement. The good thing about the room is that everybody has got the key.
Thank you very much. Let me tell you the summary of everything my immediate boss said. Remember, I asked him a political question and he went ahead to set standards. What he's saying is that even in the politics, and the template is improve, be the best. Please let's celebrate for asking the question for coming today. Alright, because of time and the want of it, we're going to have to take this as the last run. Everybody wants to continue with the panel, but we have one more item to take and then we need to be out of here in time. So this is going to be the last. I'll take it and I'm going to check on the movement and we'll start the standard setting. Standard setting.
already taken the last last. One of us, you're always last. Because you're my brother. Let's give it brothers.
So it doesn't last.
All right. When the man was speaking, he said that we need to raise the Fortune 500 company. And he also said that all of us just start business to just get paid. Everybody has also emphasized that. But then he emphasized that we need to think ahead. As you're starting, you need to have a blueprint, you need to have a standard, you should be institutionalized and all of those things. You produced about 2-3 movies in Akwa Ibom State so far between 2017 and 2019. And I know you have another movie. I'd like to ask, what's your plan? Is it that very soon now, the Major Commissioner for Women Affairs, and you drop the movie industry or Commissioner for Culture and Tourism and you go to Dubai and get a house and live there? I'd like to know, I don't know. What's your 20-year plan for the movie industry in Akwa Ibom State? And now I need you to take it easy, because this is your last bite. And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to be talking as if you're sharing the dream for all other business owner, entrepreneur here. Let what you're saying be a standard. What's your plan?
Okay, when I came back to Akwa Ibom in 2015, after the Dakada philosophy was launched, I realized that the Dakada creed had a message. But a lot of people thought it was a political drama. He said, I want to quote, "Rise to the faith of our resources beyond what others see." And then the entertainment industry is a sector that has created wealth for people. According to International Monetary Fund, in 2016, Nollywood contributed 1.4% to our GDP. If NBS were to release data on how many states were able to tap from that wealth, I'm pretty sure Akwa Ibom will have the least. And they will start shouting, government has failed us and all of that. So when I came back to Akwa Ibom, the first thing I needed to do was to solve the problem of having untrained personnel in filmmaking. So I started Orange Film Bootcamp. And then I knew that money was a problem. A lot of people have the passion, they want to be trained, but they don't have the finance to go through it. So the camp is free. So what we do at the camp, we train and use. So every year I bring in professionals in different fields, as long as filmmaking is concerned, to come and train Akwa Ibom youths who are interested in making quality film. We're talking about standard. People that don't just want to make films, people that want to make film that will sell out cinema halls. And then they train them for free, and then we do a film. We produce a film and they act. So far, we have done our first film got into the cinemas, it went as far as Ghana. And I'm here to say that about 60% of my students featured in that film. Now, talking about standard. When I left, my first film was an English film, The Finalist. I wanted to do a dialect film. And then I was discussing with my production manager. I gave her my budget. She was like, oh, this is waste of money. You can do things with 500,000, the syndrome thing. And I told her, whether I'm making an indigenous film or an English film, the standard must be the same. So here is the plan. The plan is, I have a school that teaches people how to make film. We try to show you the standard. We try to make sure you believe you can produce in Akwa Ibom what people are producing in Lagos, what more Abdul is doing in Lagos. And so when we do this, we also give a platform for you to come on our movie set and see how things are done. Now this is where they miss it sometimes. Everybody wants to be an actor. That's the problem. But you see, Nollywood has created jobs for a lot of people. According to statistics, it says that we employ 1 million persons in Nigeria. Now, how do you get this job? Because I'm trying to see how we can create wealth. The idea is not just to produce film and act. How we can diversify the economy of Akwa Ibom. Like Mr. Mani said that the next 20 years is the year of enterprise. And please, I next time add, the entertainment industry has a role to play in that. And so the idea is not just to make films, it's not just to entertain people, it is to create jobs, it is to create wealth for our teeming youth. Now, how can you create jobs for yourself from Nollywood? A filmmaker has several problems, challenges. Number one is funding. Mr. Mani said, start your business with a capital that is patient. Now, do you know that you don't need to be an actor, but you can source for funds for filmmakers and take a percentage from it? You have uncles, you have mommies, you have friends, you have my leader, all those taxes, triple chair, total chair. You have them. You have access to them. I do not have access to them. So how about you can partner me on a project? And my next film has means about 5 million naira. I'm only, so please I'm going to check after this. And you come in and say, okay, I'm going to help you source for funds, but this is my deal. I make 1% from every sale of the film, in cinemas, on TV, or whatever. And then also have people, when we have a challenge of location, because we don't have a film village. So if I want to produce a film and I want someone that's, I have a character of a president, my house does not look like a president's house. But you have uncles, political leaders, chairmen, that have houses that can serve that purpose. You can call on the project as a location manager and you get paid for it. And you see, so we have several, even the people that are cooking food, even the listing like transportation business booms when there's a film production in a particular location. And so for me, it's not just, the idea is not just to make films. I want to make sure the next 10 years, Akwa Ibom people have been able to tap from the wealth that Nollywood has created. I want you that in the next, if at any point in time NBA decides to release the statistics of state that makes such amount of money for film business, Akwa Ibom will be amongst the top 10. Like we said, we are now number 3 in terms of so once we number 3 in terms of job and wealth creation from film business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here we learn to compete. So if we really want to succeed, everything is not everything. We ourselves as the industry and the people that want to come don't have everything it takes to make it happen. Government has a huge role to play in terms of infrastructure. And there should also be policies. Because I was happy when I heard of Akwa Ibom State Development Fund bill. I was super excited. We started working ahead. Like we have a plan as I speak. 30-year plan, leveraging on just hearing that there is a bit. As I told you, I don't know what's happening with that particular bill. I wish something can be done to immediately make it happen. So we are losing as long as we don't, whether it's bill or anything, we are losing as long as there is no law that is backing or supporting what we play in that particular industry. So the people that are coming in, most of them are passionate, they don't have devices, they can't afford training fees. They can't acquire devices. There was a time, MP, former speaker, wanted to do something for people in his constituency. But one of the things that affected that project was the ability to provide devices for people that are passionately willing to do this. And again, because there is deficit in infrastructure in where they are in the rural areas, this thing thrives in the city locations. So even if you have devices, how do you access the internet? So these are the problems that are still limiting what we are trying to do. So whatever we are doing here, if you must participate, that means you have to come to the city to be able to do this. And that's why we decided to step back in Europe to be a platform where young people can see and take part in opportunities, even at the global scale.
Thank you very much. Before we wait to do more, God will keep helping you. Let's end that route with Mr. Ekanem. Please, sir, remember you're going to tell us what you mean by, here's a lot of competition. Tomorrow you're going to tell us what you mean by scaling up, and then please wrap the session, as in for you, by telling us the mental pullbacks that our tribal people need to check so that we can go forward as we face the future.
All right, I thought that was going to be an easy one, Morgan. Okay, so before we start, to my brother, I was just thinking of something while she was speaking.
And just an open advice, if Nigerians can download songs faster than they can register for political parties, we'll have more people not in political parties. So we need to find a way to work around that. Access is critical to the success of anything that requires mass engagement. So we need to create access, whether it's healthcare, education. Access is what is key. That's what we should all be working towards. How do we make it accessible, easy enough? I'm sitting in my house, I pick up a phone, I'm a member of DDP. Excellent. So to respond to what do I mean by scale up? Truth of the matter is that it's been touched by everybody. Scale up simply means bringing things, the level of operations of anything that we do to a level that is acceptable by international standards. And everybody has talked about standardization. I mean, Interpol mentioned it, he's talked about it, and now of course we talked about standardization. But I want you to take a bit of a shift to even understanding why, what determines standardization, and this is what I want everybody to understand. Standardization, what you need to know for you to determine the kind of standard that you should have, is when you take into consideration the satisfaction of stakeholders. So the question is, who are stakeholders? The stakeholder, in my definition, is anybody or anything that is affected or can affect what you do. So if you take into consideration anybody that your business affects, or anybody that can affect your business, and you are working with a long-term intention to satisfy them, you will naturally operate at a level that guarantees excellent service delivery, that guarantees standards for the services that are, for excellence and something that's, recognized all across the world. So it's very, very, very important. Now, when I also talked about scaling up, right, Morgan, it was important that we noted that, for me, there are many indexes that you could look at, but let me just touch on two. Number one is competence. Number two is capacity. Now, competence is the ability to be able to get a job done. Capacity is the ability to deliver that good job that you've done. So you have many people that are perhaps competent, perhaps just have threshold competency, meaning that they can do a job but can't do excellently well. And like another Francis said, training needs to come into it, capacity building across ways. You will look at organizations. For example, I'll tell you something quickly. There was a project we were working on that was funded by World Bank and the Global Fund. And we had a responsibility to build 15 CBOs, community-based organizations, upgrade them to NGOs so that in 18 months they can begin to access USD for projects that they're interested in. And these projects cut across everything: movie, education, health, whatever the area of interest was. And it will amaze you to know that there are many organizations that don't even have a plan for capacity building. It's not even included. It is, let's put a product out there, let's make money, and then somehow will get through. They don't even have a plan for tax, they don't have a plan for anything. And we found out that, look, you have a lot of organizations around, the CACs filled with organizations that duly registered, but we have weak systems. Okay, so when I say scaling up, I'm saying that for every CEO here and for every entrepreneur, it's not just about the entrepreneurs, those also working on jobs also need to adopt the same level of excellence. So just because you report to somebody or you're working at a job does not excuse you from delivering your best on that job. And what I'm saying here is that if everybody comes to the table, alright, saying that number one, what do we need to achieve? When you look at long-term intention, right, you're also saying, look, where are we going to, what do we need to achieve? And then you're now building the competency that you require to be able to achieve that. Over time, you will find out that what you need to be able to deliver the kind of outcome that you're looking for, you will certainly build yourself up to it. So if you can have more organizations scaling up in that regard, building competency, also building channels, by which we can deliver the goods. Somebody talked about businesses being online right now. If I was to take a sample, we just went through Mr. Mayor or we just did the Takada fruit anniversary stuff, and a lot of businesses have really zero or non-existent online presence. I'm looking for information on you to support what you claim you do, and I can't find you. Again, that's access. So you will ask yourself that if not that you drive down the streets on Oil Road or Inland Street or wherever, how would you ahead of that business? If you're in Lagos or Abuja or Kaduna or Zaria or wherever it is, would you ahead of this business? And if your business is not operating at that level, little wonder that we have people, businesses owned by Akwa Ibom people, run by Akwa Ibom people, but delivering the list to our IGL. So I think it's very good.
Thank you very much. A lot of things to learn here. But I'll come to Warren Abasi as he tells us, Mr. Warren, Publicity Secretary of People's Democratic Party, practicing politician. What's your plan for the next 4 years? Keep it brief.
I doubt I'm a practicing politician just yet. But the truth remains that I had said earlier morning that as young people we must come together and decide that for us to effect the change that we want to see, we have to begin to get actively involved. You mentioned the fact that there is need for us to get hooked on the tape. I like to mention to you every time that it's easier for us to do that. In fact, as a party that's quite innovative, and that's part of the strategic plans that we have. But then, it's not just about sitting at the comfort of your home and then registering. We want to see you come out, mobilize, have a voice. When you have a Congress, you cannot sit in your home and then begin to elect. We need to see you come out, like we're having tomorrow. We need to see you come out and then elect the people that we feel should actually drive the change that we want to see. If you want to contest, it's not because, I think in Nigeria we are quite comfortable with this armchair everything. There's some things you need to put in the work to ensure that it works. So if not much as we quite appreciate the innovation that technology will bring into the political space, we must also discover that everything cannot be done from the comfort of your homes. You have to come out, you have to ensure that you take part, you are seen to be active. It's not enough. You would agree with me that the people like Onofio, the immigrants, the Raphael, and every other young person who has distinguished themselves, who are trying to make their voices heard in the political scene, did not just stay at home and then tweet or decide to say whatever they wanted to say from the comfort of their homes. Politics, we need presence. We need all of the presence. So in terms of I'm hoping to see a lot of young people try to galvanize support for even the young people that are actually in position, and then try as much as possible to see how they can come together from their group solidarity and then try to push for the change that they want to see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. All right, as we bring the session to close, we're going to have Raphael and Mr. Temple Moses give their parting shot. Mr. Raphael, please.
Okay, thank you very much for another bite of the cherry. In 2008, I was MC at Akwa Ibom Infrastructure Summit, organized by the then Ministry of Economic Development. And the current chairman of the House of Assembly Service Commission, Barrister Moore, was Commissioner for Special Duties at the time. And there was some debates about infrastructure, and the issue of water and electricity came up. And the gentleman posed something which I want all of us to always remember about interdependence. The people who were surprised to...
Okay, I don't know if I have a campaign voice.
Okay, thank you very much. When the issue of electricity, or when the issue of water was discussed, the people who were supposed to provide water complained that they didn't have electricity to pump water. And when the issue of water was discussed, or when the issue of electricity was discussed, the people who are supposed to provide electricity complained that they don't have water to generate electricity. So electricity people need water so that they can generate electricity. Water people need electricity so that they can pump water. If you were to take that analogy as regards this event, I think talking about politics, economy, business, governance, there is a level of interdependence. The politicians depend on the people who are running the economy as much as the people in the economy depend on the politicians, meaning that we can work hand in hand. The PLD bill was presented to us, it being debated and will be passed by the National Assembly, but a competitive document was produced by experts in that field, who may not necessarily be politicians. So whatever thing we do, we can run side by side and complement each other. But like I said, the standards need to be set. In Akwa Ibom State, apart from the fact that, like I said, when we should scale up, I think we should also look at emerging opportunities in the states. Otherwise, there's something I'm very afraid of is going to happen. A few weeks ago, I got to know that there's a gentleman who is not from this state, who is making moves to establish or bringing a machine into Akwa Ibom State that does something I have never thought of before. They say the machine washes aeroplanes. And that's when it occurred to me that it cannot be human beings who climb ladder to then wash aeroplanes. So it's actually a greenwashing business that is in existence, which I may not know about. I spoke to a member of the Dejoseph Cost Development Committee not too long ago, and he said that on the day that the work is going to start at the Dejoseph Port, about 400 to 500 people may be employed to actually start a lot of work. But his fear is that are we going to have enough people who are actually operating the machines that are actually used in construction in that thing. There are several other emerging opportunities in the aviation sector, in the industrial sector. So there are too many of us who don't look at the traditional job opportunities we were used to when we were growing up. I want to be one of the biggest achievements of the current Ibom administration is opening up opportunities for people to actually get engaged in other fields. Because before now, in my opinion, when you finish universities, your options were limited to the civil service, bank, hotel, or filling station. But now there are several other emerging opportunities, direct and ancillary jobs, which we can look at. Otherwise, my fear is this, that when Akwa Ibom becomes, like it has been projected, one of the top 3 economies in the world, or the top 2 like he said, the 80% of the people who will be making up those who make decisions and who are earning good income in 10 years. My fear is that 80% of those people may not be people from Akwa Ibom. So we need to look inward, look at opportunities, take the break of social media a little bit, and look at what other ways can we find ourselves useful. Can we prepare ourselves for what is coming? Because whether we like it or not, the industrial revolution has come and it will stay. And we either will be spectators or major players. The choice is ours, and I hope that we're going to actually take the second choice. Thank you very much.
Okay. I would round up by giving 2 secrets to my success. A lot of people have asked me, like I told you, where did you know your base or stuff. And some people are surprised at this kind of success from a carpenter. Like I keep saying, they keep wondering, are you sure you're not doing something else? I'm doing only carpentry. So I'm going to round up, maybe, I think I've never said this before, with 2 secrets that the young people should know. Not too long when I came back to Akwa Ibom youths were leaving Akwa Ibom. I don't know what particular year that was. There was an exodus out of Akwa Ibom. Every good photographer, every good graphic guy, every good person was leaving, and that was the main thing. And people told me, what are you doing at Akwa Ibom? Come to Abuja. When I started my free furniture makeover, they were like, these are the kind of things we watch on DSTV. Akwa Ibom is too small for you. Come to Abuja, come to Lagos. And I said, if everybody leaves Akwa Ibom, who will build Akwa Ibom? There are over 6 million people in Akwa Ibom. These people need services. If I could render my service to I'm trying to think of the smallest amount of people, I would make money. I cannot service 6 million people. I'll fall down and die. So, I want to tell people that it is not what you do, it is how you do what you do. There are other woodworkers or carpenters in my field. In fact, before I entered into the university in 2003, 2002-03, there were people who used to do carpentry for us. I'm better than them today. The boss I learned under is 30-something years in carpentry, and I started learning woodwork in 2013. I'm a baby, per se, in woodwork. But I've achieved more than what they've achieved because I do what I do differently. So the problem is not living Akwa Ibom. There are opportunities in Akwa Ibom. I turn down jobs every day. As I was sitting there, I'm discussing business with someone. I have clients calling me every single day. Oh, this person gave me a number, this person. But I have carpenters who are living Akwa Ibom. They come and tell me, there's no job. And they are leaving. They are doing what they are doing stereotypically, the old way, and they are expecting new results. So for young people who want to come into business or who are in business and are complaining that there are no opportunities here, no. You have to innovate. You have to change your mode of operation. There are things I do that makes me indispensable to my clients now. They cannot do without me. They are booked on me. Not the skill now. Things apart from the skill that I incorporated. That's the first advice. The second one is, and a lot of motivational speakers use this, a lot of people, in fact, it's an accepted, should I say, phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I've spoken in 3 or 4 places and I tell them to scratch that out. Put all your eggs in one basket and guard that basket. Even the chicken that lays the egg does not lay eggs in separate locations for a reason. The chicken lays all its eggs in one place and sits on that egg. When the eggs hatch, the chicks would move to separate locations. You are just starting out in business. You have an egg in your hand and you have so many distractions. I see so many people not succeed because they are doing too many things. Multiple streams of income. They didn't say multiple wells of income. You must have a stream before you diversify. You have just a small cup of water and you are saying multiple streams of income. So many people think they have to do 5, 6 things. Okay, what I'm doing is not working. When I started, my dad thought I lost my mind. My sister called me, come and go to America. Is this what you want to do after all this? I said, if MTN wants to pay me, this was in 2014, I said, if MTN wants to pay me ₦500,000 naira a month, I will not work. I will build carpentry and make something out of it. Today, they are proud of me. Because I focused all my energy on carpentry. I didn't do anything else. Network marketers came, oh, this network, I used the whole network and bought tools and machines.
Sure.
So I use the time and energy I would have been using to market for Longbridge and make my business better. I put all my energies, I read all what I was supposed to read, I did all my homework. Somebody told me, oh, come to Norland. I said, why? You car award, you buy a car. I said, I'll buy a car with my own money. I bought 3 cars in 1 year from carpentry. And I'm building my intellectual base also. I'm not remaining redundant. So young people, some do not move forward because they are doing so many things. So I have to learn graphics, I have to learn this, I have to learn this. I know only furniture making and the spraying part of it. I pay an upholsterer to do the upholstery. I refuse to learn it. I have the machines and time. I refuse to learn it. I said, I will pay, I will make money from carpentry and pay somebody to do that. You must not do everything. If for instance, I tell people, if I am successful in my brand, I can do any other thing. Sure. Now, the real Rupert, as I go to many places, and Rupert, if I open or I start a water bottling company now, at least in Rome, and people go to the store, oh, this guy that does good furniture, that means this water must be good. But I first make my name from good work. Concentrate on one thing. Make it in one thing before you diversify. Thank you very Thank you very much, gentlemen. Look at the rise, take a bow. Thank you very, very much. We're 30 minutes out of here. 30 minutes before we are out of here, please. I thank all of us who have been with us from the beginning. In 30 minutes, we will be out. Just in 30 minutes, we will be out. Before we do the award presentations and take the Honorable Commissioner for Information for 20 minutes, I'd like to give 5 minutes. She is the CEO of Otis Skippers and she's here to introduce her brand to us in 5 minutes. Please, can you help me